was level 3 demon beasts of the Inky Python Mountain. When Yun Dongshan, Shen Yuanlong, and the others saw the 4 new demon beasts, they immediately recognized them. This made their hearts sink. 5 demon beasts from the secluded mountain, 4 level 3 demon beasts from the Inky Python Mountain, and lastly, 1, 2, and 3. 3 Violet Palace Realm demonic cultivators. There were a total of 12 combat strengths above the Violet Palace Realm. It seemed that they were really determined to occupy Flat Land County. This was not including some level 4 Dharma treasures they might be carrying. Yun Dongshan and Shen Yuanlong looked at each other and felt helpless. Could it be that the Shen immortal family is going to be eliminated today? Shen Yuanlong was indignant. However, there was nothing he could do. Because with their strength, it was impossible for them to defeat so many enemies. It wouldn't change anything even if Zhang Beiyang and Song Hui came to their aid. There was no way to reverse the situation. Unless immortal Pelong was here now. However, the probability was too low. As if knowing what was on Shen Yuanlong's mind, the demonic cultivator said with a chuckle, "Do you think immortal Pelong will come over to help you? To tell you the truth, Phantom Demon, Xia Fxiang, and the Black Wind Snake King of the Inky Python Mountain are waiting to deal with him on the path he has to pass to get here. Therefore, don't give yourself false hope. Today, the entire Flat Land County will become the food for these hungry beasts." Hearing the demonic cultivator's words, despair appeared on the faces of the cultivators present. Clearly, they had already realized that the situation was hopeless. The only thing they could do now was to struggle for a while longer. Is that so? However, at this moment, a playful voice suddenly sounded in everyone's ears. Who? The expressions of the demonic cultivator and the level 3 demon beasts all changed. They suddenly turned to look at a spot in the air. There, a middle-aged man in a brown robe with an indifferent expression was quietly floating in the air. There were 2 people standing beside him. One of them was tall and held a spear in his hand. He was one of the 3 supreme elders of the Ganyang sect, Nangong Beijing. The second one was Hong Tianqi. The other wore a starlight crown on his head and seemed to be surrounded by countless stars. He was the Golden Core Supreme Elder of the Starlight Sect, Sidu Zhan. Seeing these 3 people appear, the demonic cultivator and the level 3 demon beasts panicked, and endless fear suddenly overwhelmed them. Hong Tianqi, Nangong Beijing, Sidu Zhan. Shouldn't you be in Zheiyuan County? Sidu Zhan, when did you join up with the Supreme Elders of the Ganyang sect? A disdainful smile appeared on Sidu Zhan's face. We are here naturally to eliminate you little rats. We originally wanted to wait for the Wolf King and the Black Wind Snake King to appear before showing up. However, they seem to have sensed something in advance and actually only sent you little rats. However, it's not in vain that we traveled so far because someone we wanted to hunt down is also here. Isn't that so, Brother Gucheng? As soon as this Supreme Elder from the Starlight Sect finished speaking, the starlight crown on his head suddenly lit up with endless dazzling starlight. With a swoosh, endless light aimed and shot towards a certain spot in the air, forcing a figure covered in shadow to appear in a sorry state. It was the Golden Core demonic cultivator known as the Shadow Demon, Zhao Gucheng. He stared fixedly at Sidu Zhan, who was bathing in endless starlight. He could not help but grit his teeth and say word by word. Starlight Sect, Level 4 Dharma Treasure, Brilliance Crown. This treasure was his natural nemesis. With this treasure, the Shadow Demon Zhao Gucheng did not dare to fight Sidu Zhan head-on. Not to mention, there were also Hong Tianqi and Nangong Beijing, the 2 Golden Core Realm cultivators. In an instant, the Shadow Demon Zhao Gucheng turned into a dark light and fled into the distance. As for his disciples, now that he could not even protect himself, why would he care about their lives? Brother Sidu, I'll leave Zhao Gucheng to you. Hong Tianqi looked at Sidu Zhan and said calmly, As for these rats, Elder Nangong and I will quickly deal with them. After that, we will catch up with you. If possible, we will end Zhao Gucheng's life today. Okay. Sidu Zhan nodded slightly. Soon, his figure turned into countless stars and disappeared in front of everyone. This change was too sudden. It was so sudden that everyone present had yet to come back to their senses, especially the cultivators of the Sunset Sect and the Shen immortal family. From their conversation just now, Hong Tianqi and the other 2 seemed to have arrived long ago. However, since they were already here, why didn't they attack? They watched as Tian Qin of the Sunset Sect died, and the ancestor of the Shen immortal family seriously injured. Why was that? Could it be that it was to lure out the Wolf King and the others? Most likely it was the case. If they could lure out the Wolf King that was continuously harming the human race for many hundreds of years, and severely injure the Black Wind Snake King at the same time, not to mention a mere Violet Palace realm cultivator, they would not even bat an eye if Zheng Pelong's personal disciple, Yun Dongshan, died in front of them. This was the difference in thinking between high-level cultivators and low-level cultivators. In their eyes, killing a golden core realm demon beast was more important than anything. They were looking at the bigger picture and were ready to make necessary sacrifices. However, in the eyes of Xianxia Audiobook and the other Foundation Establishment Realm and Qi Refinement Realm cultivators, it was very difficult for them to relate to Hong Tianqi and the other two. Yang Chengshuan could not accept what they did. For the sake of the so-called bigger picture, they watched people die when they clearly had the ability to save them. This was simply ridiculous. He did not know if he would do this for the sake of the bigger picture when he reached that position or reached a certain height. However, he knew that when one was not strong enough, no matter what thoughts and opinions one had, they were not important and would not mean anything. There was no possibility of the weak arguing with the strong. The only thing you can do is to accumulate strength and try to become stronger, stronger and stronger. At this moment, be it the Violet Palace Realm demonic cultivators or the level 3 demon beasts, they were all like rats that had seen a cat and began to scatter in different directions. Facing two Golden Core Realm cultivators, it was impossible for them to be their match. They didn't even have the thought that perhaps with their strength combined, they might be able to fight the two of them for a few rounds. Even if there was a chance to win, with the selfish nature of demonic cultivators and demon beasts, would they really cooperate with each other to resist the two Golden Core cultivators? The answer was no. Therefore, in the next moment, Jiang Chengshuan and the others saw that the arrogant demonic cultivators and many level 3 demon beasts were fleeing in panic like stray dogs. However, the two Golden Cores were determined to clean them up. Without hesitation, the spear in Nangong Beijan's hand pierced through the bodies of 3 level 3 demon beasts and completely tore them apart. Then he raised his hand and swung it. With a buzz, an extremely terrifying huge spear shadow pierced through the heads of two demonic cultivators and exploded them in the air. Meanwhile, Hong Tianqi raised his hand and flicked his finger indifferently. There was a rumble. A mountain that was 1,000 feet tall suddenly pressed down on the remaining demonic cultivators and demon beasts. At this moment, time stopped. The demonic cultivators and demon beasts who were fleeing in panic were like little bugs sealed in amber. No matter how they struggled and tried, they could not move at all. Just like that, the purple-eyed demon wolf, the double-eyed demon snake, the three-eyed eagle, the three-tailed fire lizard, and the demonic cultivators were all crushed into powder by this mountain. They died on the spot. Only the blue-eyed demon ape seemed to have activated a level L, space-breaking talisman at the critical moment, and disappeared into the void. At this moment, everyone who saw this scene was extremely shocked. As expected of a Golden Core Realm cultivator, his strength was indeed terrifying. The high and mighty Violet Palace Realm cultivators were only slightly larger ants in front of the two of them. Compared to Qi Refinement and Foundation Establishment cultivators like them, the difference was not huge. Disciple Yun, go and chase after the remaining demon beasts immediately, including those demonic cultivators. Try your best not to let any of them off. Supreme Elder Nangong and I will chase after the shadow demon, Zhao Gucheng. At this moment, Hong Tianqi turned to look at Yun Dongshan, who was in the crowd, and instructed calmly. Yun Dongshan immediately bowed. Yes, Super Elder Hong. When he looked up again, Hong Tianqi and Nangong Beijan were no longer in the air. He couldn't help but reveal a bitter smile. At this moment, he roughly understood what the two Supreme Elders were up to. They intentionally spread the news that they were going to Zheiyuan County, but in fact, they joined forces with the Supreme Elder of the Starlight Sect, Sidu Zhan, to secretly enter Flat Land County. It was probably because they wanted to take the opportunity to give the Wolf King a fatal blow. Yun Dongsha was too familiar with such a tactic. If he guessed correctly, it should be Elder Mengsu's idea. He just did not know how Elder Mengsu would react to Hong Tianqi and the others doing nothing to save Tian Qi and causing Shen Yuanlong to be seriously injured. Hopefully, nothing bad would happen. However, it was undeniable that Hong Tianqi and Nangong Beijan's tactic was quite effective. If they could successfully kill Zhao Gucheng with Sidu Zhan, it would be considered a huge victory. At the same time, Zai Feiyang and the Black Wind Snake King, who were stalling Zheng Pelong, suddenly seemed to have received a message. The expressions on their faces changed at the same time. The two demons did not delay at all. After colliding fiercely with Zheng Pelong's sword, they turned into streaks of light and instantly disappeared into the distant sky. Seeing this, Zheng Pelong, who was standing quietly in midair, suddenly had a deep look in his eyes. He muttered, "Hong Tianqi, Nangong Beijan, did you succeed? I hope that the two of you won't cause any trouble for me this time. You must protect that person from the Shen family. Otherwise, I really won't be able to face my Dao companion." As he muttered to himself, Zheng Pelong's figure had already disappeared on the spot. Half a month later, Yan Dongshan and Shen Yuanlong received the news. It was said that the shadow demon, Zhao Gucheng, had his physical body destroyed by Sidu Zhan, Hong Tianqi, and Nangong Beijan, leaving behind a golden core before managing to escape. This was equivalent to completely cutting off the other party's path to the Dao. Even if he wanted to recover in the future, it would be impossible without 100 or 200 years. Moreover, even if he recovered in the end, the cultivation and strength of Zhao Gucheng would be greatly reduced. He might die in the hands of another golden core demonic cultivator midway. After all, it was not strange for demonic cultivators to plunder each other. On the other hand, it was said that Shen Mengsu had a dispute with Hong Tianqi, who had returned to the Ganyang sect after the incident. This time, Shen Mengsu seemed to be really angry. She actually asked Hong Tianqi, the Golden Core Supreme Elder, to give her an explanation in front of everyone in the Ganyang sect. Only Shen Mengsu had the courage to do this. She had accumulated enough contributions for the Ganyang sect, and her prestige was high enough. Otherwise, if it was someone else, they would definitely not be able to bear the consequences. After all, in the cultivation world, it was a huge taboo to offend one's superiors. Even if you're right, you're not because you have a low cultivation level. However, Shen Mengsu was obviously different. First of all, her contribution to the Ganyang sect was not inferior to the 3 Golden Core Supreme Elders. In addition, she had Zheng Pelong behind her. Moreover, strictly speaking, Hong Tianqi was in the wrong to begin with. Therefore, although Hong Tianqi was unhappy with Shen Mengsu's attitude, he did not flare up. In the end, Hong Tianqi used a piece of Violet Palace Jade as an apology to let this matter rest. What kind of an item was Violet Palace Jade? It was a supreme treasure that could nurture a Violet Palace realm cultivator. It was impossible for Hong Tianqi, who was usually domineering, to not hold a grudge. Shen Mengsu clearly knew this as well. Therefore, after she obtained the Violet Palace Jade from Hong Tianqi, she immediately instructed the Shen family to use it as soon as possible. At this moment, in a temporary cave abode, Shen Yuanlong placed the Violet Palace Jade he had obtained from Shen Mengsu in front of Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and Shen Dayaming. It could be seen that Shen Yuanlong's aura was clearly much weaker than before. Even his head had a lot of white hair. He said, "Dayaming, Ruyan, and Chengxuan, according to your contributions this time, the 3 of you all have a chance to fight for this Violet Palace Jade. As for who should get it, discuss it yourselves. I won't say too much." Jiang Chengxuan smiled and said, "Ancestor, I'm still quite a distance away from breaking through to the Violet Palace realm. Even if you give me this jade, I won't need it for the time being, so I won't fight for it." In fact, Jiang Chengxuan had already obtained the opportunity to advance to the Violet Palace realm from the system. The moment he completed the 100 Demon Slayings mission, the system rewarded him with a breakthrough bead. As the name suggested, this breakthrough bead was used by cultivators to break through. Not only could it allow one to successfully break through, but there would not be any hidden dangers during this process. There was even a chance for people to comprehend extraordinary abilities during the breakthrough. Therefore, the Violet Palace Jade was really useless to Jiang Chengxuan. Shen Ruyan also shook her head. "I don't need the Violet Palace Jade either. I'll leave it to brother." Hearing this, Shen Dayaming hesitated. He looked at Shen Ruyan and said, "Ruyan, your cultivation has already reached the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. If you want to break through to the Violet Palace realm, this jade might be more suitable for you. As for me, I really don't need it." Before Shen Dayaming could finish, Shen Ruyan shook her head again. If I really want to break through to the Violet Palace realm, I will use my own method. Therefore, brother, you don't have to decline anymore, take it. As she spoke, she had already pushed the Jade to Shen Dayaming. Shen Dayaming wanted to say more, but Shen Ruyan interrupted him. Brother, if I want to break through to the Violet Palace realm, I'm 80% confident even without any external items. On the other hand, if you don't use this Violet Palace Jade, even if you have the Scarlet Flame Crystal and the Purple True Pill, how confident are you that you can break through to the Violet Palace realm? Shen Dayaming was rendered speechless. However, Shen Yunlong's eyes lit up. He looked at Shen Ruyan and asked excitedly, Ruyan, is what you said true? Shen Ruyan nodded. Good, good, good. Shen Yunlong was so excited that he said good 3 times. In that case, if you and Dayaming can both advance to the Violet Palace realm in the future, even if I'm no longer around, the Shen family will still be safe under your protection. Ancestor, don't say that. Shen Dayaming wanted to cheer him up. However, Shen Yunlong smiled and shook his head. It's fine, I know my own situation. In my current state, I can't live a few years at most. Previously, I was worried about what would happen to the Shen immortal family after I left. However, if you and Ruyan can successfully advance to the Violet Palace realm in the future, then even if I leave, I won't worry too much. All right. At this point, Shen Yunlong clearly did not want to continue this topic. He waved his hand and said, This matter ends here. I think the Demon Beast riot is about to end. When the Demon Beast riot is officially over, the Hong family might make a move. However, while I'm still around, I won't let them harm you. The only thing you need to do next is to increase your strength. Just as Shen Yunlong had said, the Demon Beast riot was officially declared over after it lasted for 2 more years. Perhaps it was because too many level 3 demon beasts had died at once, or perhaps it was because what happened to the shadow demon, Zhao Gucheng, frightened them. In short, in the 2 years that followed, there was no large-scale beast attack from the secluded mountain on Flat Land County. However, it was said that the beast attack in other places was still very terrifying. Almost every once in a while, news that a certain place had been broken through by demon beasts would spread. The people were plunged into misery and suffering. In addition, half a month after the Demon Beast riot officially ended, a piece of news that made everyone feel very uneasy suddenly spread throughout the Yun nation. After this Demon Beast riot, the time for each Demon Beast riot in the future went from once every 200 years to once every 100 years. This news was like a bolt from the blue, causing all the cultivators to panic. Previously, the Demon Beast riot that happened every 200 years had already made it difficult for the human race to recover. Now that the time was shortened by half, wouldn't the situation of the human race be even more difficult in the future? No one knew what was going on with the higher-ups of the human race. Why did they do nothing about such a ridiculous request? At this moment, in the Shen immortal family's base, splendid Jade Mountain, the current ancestor of the Shen immortal family, Shen Yunlong, looked at the elders of the Shen family and slowly said, The interval of the Demon Beast riot outbreak is not something you and I can decide. No matter how much you complain, it's meaningless. The only thing we can do is to use the time we have to increase our cultivation and strength as much as possible. Next, let's talk about the distribution of rewards of this Demon Beast riot. As he spoke, Shen Yunlong had already sent a contribution list to every Shen family elder present. The distribution of rewards after this battle was calculated by the Ganyang sect. After they confirmed the items they wanted to exchange for, the Ganyang sect would send someone to deliver the items. At this moment, Zhang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked at the contribution list in their hands and realized that the amount of contributions they had made in the Demon Beast riot was really huge. Other than those people at the Violet Palace realm, they contributed the most among all the Foundation Establishment realm cultivators. Their contribution even exceeded a few cultivators who had just advanced to the Violet Palace realm. Just the number of demon beasts they killed was dozens or hundreds of times that of other cultivators. At this moment, Zhang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked at the rows of treasures on the exchange list. The first thing they noticed was the 5-element spiritual crystals that could help Foundation Establishment cultivators break through to the Violet Palace realm. There were a total of 3 crystals. They were the wood element azure dragon wood crystal, the earth element earth spirit crystal, and the metal element white emperor gold crystal. Next was the purple true pill that could protect a cultivator's meridians and soul. However, the contribution points needed to exchange for each of these treasures were simply astronomical. To Jiang Chengshuan and Shen Ruyan, it was not a problem to exchange for it. They didn't want to exchange for it because it was not of much use to them. However, Shen Ruyan still spent a large sum of contribution points to exchange for a purple true pill. Needless to say, Shen Ruyan did not exchange this purple true pill for herself, but for the family. Coupled with the crimson flame crystal from the mine, it might be able to help the Shen immortal family gain another violet palace realm cultivator. This was also a form of repayment to her family that had nurtured and raised her. Next, Shen Ruyan used all her contribution points to exchange for a lightning stone. This lightning stone was a rather precious lightning element, or among level 3 precious materials. It could be used to refine level 3 Dharma treasures, or be fused into the Dharma treasure embryo to increase the power and quality of the Dharma treasure embryo. Without a doubt, Shen Ruyan exchanged for this stone for her Thunderbolt Lightning Fire Sword. After Shen Ruyan finished exchanging for the treasures she needed, Jiang Chengshuan had also finished choosing the items he needed. A 5 elements true technique for Violet Palace Realm Cultivator, and a high-grade level 2 defensive Dharma artifact. It was called the Searing Bell. It was made of brass heavenly jade, water condensation true jade, and void golden crystal. Not only did it have extremely strong defensive functions, but it also had the power to reflect some attacks. Among all the level 2 high-grade defensive Dharma artifacts, it could be considered top grade. Previously, in order to block the attack of the stealthy bat, his purple gold spirit shield was completely destroyed, and the green wood heavenly shield was also severely damaged. Although he had already repaired it, a mid-grade level 2 defensive Dharma artifact was no longer enough. Now that he had exchanged for this Searing Bell, Jiang Chengshuan's attack and defense could be considered perfect for his realm. After everyone had chosen the treasures they wanted, Shen Yuanlong did not continue to keep everyone here. He immediately announced that the meeting was over. A few days later, the treasures that Jiang Chengshuan and the others exchanged for were sent to them. What followed that was that many people chose to enter seclusion to cultivate. Among them were the family head, Shen Daoming, Jiang Chengshuan, and Shen Ruyan. Shen Daoming wanted to adjust his state and prepare to attempt to break through to the Violet Palace realm. Shen Ruyan was in a hurry to fuse the lightning stone into her level 3 Dharma treasure embryo. As for Jiang Chengshuan, he wanted to try to break through to the late-stage foundation establishment realm and refine the level 2 high-grade defensive Dharma artifact, the Searing Bell. He returned to the cultivation room in his cave abode. Jiang Chengshuan immediately took out a pill from his body. It was the profound essence pill used to break through to the late stage of the foundation establishment realm. He had exchanged it from the treasure vault of the Shen immortal family. In the past 2 years, Jiang Chengshuan had already perfected his 6th-level foundation establishment realm cultivation through constant battles with demon beasts. At this moment, he was only one step away from breaking through to the late-stage foundation establishment realm. When Jiang Chengshuan consumed the profound essence pill in his hand, the true essence in his body became abnormally active. He was not in a hurry. He calmly began to circulate the 5 elements true technique over and over again. Once, twice, 10 times, 20 times, 30 times. When he circulated the 5 elements true technique for the 30th time, a light cracking sound suddenly came from his body. It sounded as if some obstacle had been broken. A wave of true essence that was nearly 40% thicker than before suddenly began to swim in his body. A smile appeared on Jiang Chengshuan's face. 7th level of the foundation establishment realm, success. At this moment, he had a feeling that if he faced the attack of the stealthy bat again, he would definitely not be in such a sorry state. Half a year later, Jiang Chengshuan had already completely consolidated his 7th level foundation establishment realm. Therefore, he took out the Searing Bell and began to refine it. At the same time, an elder at the Violet Palace realm from the Hong family suddenly descended on the Shen immortal family. This person's name was Hong Chengfei, and he was the ancestor of Hong Wentao's family line. When he brought people to the Shen immortal family, it immediately alarmed everyone. Ancestor Shen Yuanlong even personally appeared and greeted Hong Chengfei. "Fellow Taoist Hong, you've come from afar. Is there anything you need?" Hong Chengfei smiled at Shen Yuanlong and said, "Brother Yuanlong, since you know that I came from afar, why didn't you invite me in?" Hearing his words, a trace of anger immediately appeared in the eyes of some cultivators of the Shen immortal family around Shen Yuanlong. Shen Yuanlong was not angry. When he heard this, he immediately smiled and made an inviting gesture to Hong Chengfei and the others. "My apologies, fellow Taoist Hong, please." As he spoke, he personally led Hong Chengfei and the others to the guest hall. After the disciples of the Shen immortal family brought them spiritual tea, Shen Yuanlong looked at Hong Chengfei and said, "Fellow Taoist Hong, can you tell me what brought you here?" Hong Chengfei picked up the spiritual tea in front of him and took a sip. Then, he looked at Shen Yuanlong with a faint smile and said, "Brother Yuanlong, you're such a smart person. Don't tell me you really don't know my motive for coming to the Shen immortal family." Hearing this, the smile on Shen Yuanlong's face finally faded. He looked at Hong Chengfei and slowly shook his head. "I'm sorry, fellow Taoist Hong, I really don't know why you're here." "Fine." Hong Chengfei shrugged helplessly and put down the teacup in his hand. He looked at Shen Yuanlong and slowly spat out 3 words. "Violet Palace Jade." "What?" Upon hearing Hong Chengfei's words, the expressions of Shen Yuanlong and the Shen family members present changed drastically. Shen Yuanlong narrowed his eyes and looked at Hong Chengfei coldly. "Fellow Taoist Hong, I don't quite understand what you mean. Why, could it be that you juniors of the Hong family want to take back what ancestor Hong gave to us?" Hearing Shen Yuanlong's words, the smile on Hong Chengfei's face did not fade. "Brother Yuanlong, what are you talking about? As juniors, how can we take back what our ancestor gave to you? So what do you want?" Shen Yuanlong was still vigilant. Vaguely, he had already grasped Hong Chengfei's true motive for coming. Hong Chengfei smiled and said, "We just want to buy back the Violet Palace Jade that our ancestor gave you back then. Brother Yuanlong, please don't refuse for the sake of the Hong family." What did he mean by "for the sake of the Hong family"? This was clearly a blatant threat. Shen Beifei, Shen Rushwang, and the other elders looked like they were on the verge of flaring up. Only Shen Yuanlong could barely maintain his calm. He asked calmly, "Then what price are you willing to pay to buy the Violet Palace Jade back?" "Ancestor." Shen Beifei, Shen Rushwang, and the others turned to look at him. They wanted to say something, but Shen Yuanlong waved his hand and stopped them. Hong Chengfei smiled and said, "Don't worry, we won't let you suffer a loss." After a pause, Hong Chengfei continued, "The Hong family is willing to buy the Violet Palace Jade in your hand for 120,000 spirit stones. What do you think, Brother Yuanlong?" 120,000 spirit stones. Hearing Hong Chengfei's offer, even Shen Yuanlong could not restrain his anger, let alone Shen Beifei, Shen Rushwang, and the others. Everyone knew that treasures like the Violet Palace Jade could help cultivators break through to the Violet Palace realm and prevent them from dying. The price was definitely astronomical. 120,000 spirit stones was almost the floor price. Generally speaking, the price of a Violet Palace Jade in the market or at major auctions was usually between 150,000 to 200,000 spirit stones. It couldn't possibly be lower than 150,000 spirit stones. Hong Chengfei and the others were clearly not sincere at all. They really think that the Shen immortal family was easy to bully. At this moment, Shen Yuanlong's expression darkened. He looked at Hong Chengfei and said calmly, "I'm sorry, fellow Taoist Hong, I can't agree to your request. Moreover, the Violet Palace Jade is also very useful to the Shen immortal family, so I can't part with it." Hearing Shen Yuanlong's answer, the smile on Hong Chengfei's face disappeared. He looked at Shen Yuanlong and said indifferently, "Is that so? Brother Yuanlong, are you sure you want to do this? Don't forget that you and your sister's lifespan is not long. You don't have much time left. Are you sure you want to fall out with the Hong family at this time?" Boom! At this moment, Shen Yuanlong's aura suddenly erupted. The terrifying aura immediately made the faces of the Hong family cultivators turn pale. Shen Yuanlong bristled up as he glared at Hong Chengfei. His voice suddenly became extremely cold. "Hong Chengfei, are you threatening me? Do you believe that I'll make you unable to return?" These words made the expressions of Hong Chengfei and the others change. Hong Chengfei cursed in his heart. Is this old fart crazy? However, he had to admit that Shen Yuanlong, who was close to the end of his lifespan, was indeed someone he and the Hong family did not dare to provoke for the time being. Everyone knew that this kind of guy who was about to die was the craziest. Once he died in his hand, that would be a real loss. This was not something that one or two Violet Palace Jade could make up for. It was better not to fight him head-on first. When he and his sister died, it would not be too late for the Hong family to settle today's score. Thinking of this, Hong Chengfei stopped provoking Shen Yuanlong and nodded meaningfully. It seems that I came at the wrong time today. In that case, I won't disturb you anymore. However, if you change your mind, you can contact me at any time. With that, Hong Chengfei and the others did not stay any longer. They turned around and left. Hong Wentao, who had just left the splendid Jade Mountain with Hong Chengfei, could not help but say, "Ancestor, isn't the Shen immortal family too tactless? They actually dare to reject the Hong family. Are we going to let this matter go? Or what, are you going to teach them a lesson? Go ahead." Hong Chengfei turned to look at Hong Wentao and said angrily, "Do you really think that old fart won't dare to fall out with us even if we force him to a corner? Or do you think that under such circumstances, we can still use the Hong family to bluff him?" These words rendered Hong Wentao speechless. He immediately nodded and said, "Ancestor, you're right. HMPH. Hong Chengfei snorted coldly. He narrowed his eyes slightly and said, "Just wait. When that old fart and his sister are gone, I want to see how those juniors of the Shen immortal family can support a huge family." On the other side, after Hong Chengfei and the others left, Shen Yuanlong's aura collapsed and his face turned pale. This immediately shocked Shen Beifei, Shen Rushwang, and the others. Everyone hurriedly asked with concern, "Ancestor, are you all right?" Shen Yuanlong waved his hand. "I'm fine." After a pause, Shen Yuanlong continued, "Pass down the order. Sell all the medicinal shops and Dharma artifact shops of the Shen immortal family in the Ganyang sect. It's enough to leave only one or two. Use the spirit stones we exchanged to buy the cultivation resources we need." Ancestor. Hearing Shen Yuanlong's arrangement, the Shen family members present were all shocked. If they really sold all their shops in the Ganyang market, leaving only one or two, then the Shen family would lose at least 30,000 to 50,000 spirit stones every year. This was definitely a serious loss. However, Shen Yuanlong seemed to have made up his mind and said in a low voice, "Why didn't you hear my order? Do I need to repeat myself?" Everyone was shocked and immediately said that they did not dare. Seeing this, Shen Yuanlong softened his tone and continued, "Hurry up. I'm afraid that if we're late, it'll be impossible for us to sell those shops at a normal price." "How come?" All the members of the Shen family were stunned. But soon they seemed to understand something, and their expressions changed slightly. "Ancestor, you're saying that the Hong family will?" "Yes." Shen Yuanlong nodded resignedly. "It would have been fine if I had just agreed to Hong Chengfei's request. Now that I rejected him in such a way, it's equivalent to offending the entire Hong family. With my understanding of the Hong family, they will definitely do something to ruin our Shen immortal family's business. Hurry up and go. If you're late, I don't think it'll be easy to sell those shops." Although they were indignant, everyone knew that their ancestor was right. They immediately agreed and turned around to head to the Ganyang market. Half a year later, Jiang Chengxuan, who was in seclusion, had already successfully refined the level 2 high-grade Dharma artifact, the Sea-Ring Bell. At this moment, he was not in a hurry to come out of seclusion. Instead, he took out the high-grade level 2 flying sword that Shen Yuanlong had given him that day, the Void Dragon Sword, and began to comprehend the high-grade level 2 sword technique, the Fire Meteor sword technique. According to what the system said that day, as long as he could cultivate the Fire Meteor sword technique to perfection, this sword technique could erupt with power comparable to a low-grade level 3 spell. This was a rather impressive power. However, it was also quite difficult to perfect this sword technique. For more than 3 months, Jiang Chengxuan could not figure out the way to perfect this sword technique. Fortunately, at this moment, the system's voice suddenly sounded in his mind. "Ding, achievement mission has been issued. Host, please complete 100 comprehensions of high-grade level 2 spells. Current progress, 10%. Hearing the system's notification, Jiang Chengxuan was immediately pleasantly surprised. It had to be said that this mission came at the right time. He calmed himself down and began to comprehend the fire meteor sword technique. 3 months later, Jiang Chengxuan's mission progress reached 22%. Half a year later, his mission progress reached 50%. It was also from this moment on that Jiang Chengxuan's comprehension of the fire meteor sword technique began to increase. 2 months later, Jiang Chengxuan's mission progress reached 70%. Another 2 months later, Jiang Chengxuan's comprehension of the fire meteor sword technique reached 100%. It was also at this moment that he seemed to have been enlightened. The knowledge related to the fire meteor sword technique immediately appeared in his mind like a manual. At the end, the void dragon sword that he placed on his knees vibrated on its own. Crimson rings of fire began to gather around the sword. There was a clang. The void dragon sword suddenly turned into a stream of fire and shot into the sky. Then stones that looked like meteors began to fall from the sky. They struck the back mountain of Jiang Chengxuan's cave abode. 1, 2, 3. Just 3 of the meteors caused the protective array of Jiang Chengxuan's cave abode to shake. By the time the 6th and 7th meteor fell, the protective array was already showing signs of breaking. It had to be known that the perfected fire meteor sword technique could bring a total of 99 fiery meteors. Moreover, every meteor was more powerful than the previous one. Now, just 7 meteors were enough to shatter the protective array in Jiang Chengxuan's cave abode. One could imagine how terrifying the power of the 99th meteors was. Jiang Chengxuan could not help but feel delighted. He had finally comprehended the fire meteor sword technique to perfection. Ding! At this moment, the long-awaited system notification sounded again. Congratulations, host. You have completed 100 comprehensions of a level 2 high-grade spell. You have obtained comprehension +1. It was at this moment that Jiang Chengxuan suddenly felt that his mind had become clearer than ever. His previous understanding of the fire meteor sword technique flashed through his mind again. Slowly he closed his eyes. He began to break down this technique and then reevaluate it and then comprehend it. Something is not right. Suddenly, Jiang Chengxuan opened his eyes and shook his head. He seemed to be able to discover more potential of this fire meteor sword technique. Buzz, buzz, buzz. For some reason, the void dragon sword that had returned to his knees suddenly vibrated again. Moreover, this time, the body of the void dragon sword actually let out a faint wail. I got it. Jiang Chengxuan's eyes suddenly widened, and an excited expression appeared on his face. I can combine the 99 meteors into one and summon the 100th fire meteor. The 100th meteor will be merged from the 99 meteors, and it will be far more powerful than the 99 meteors. If this attack is unleashed, it's very likely to kill a newly advanced Violet Palace Realm cultivator. Even cultivators at the 2nd level of the Violet Palace Realm might be severely injured if they are not careful. Unfortunately, the power of this attack is too great. Ordinary high-grade level 2 flying swords are probably not enough to carry such power. After one strike, an ordinary high-grade level 2 flying sword might be scrapped. That's at least 7,000 to 8,000 spirit stones. Furthermore, after this attack, the true essence in my body will definitely be completely exhausted, and I will no longer have the strength to fight for the 2nd round. However, no matter what, this 100th fire meteor is definitely my strongest trump card so far. There is no other. Although my current cultivation level is only at the 7th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm, it's about time to make some preparations for the level 3 Dharma Treasure Embryo. Yes, after I come out of seclusion, I can start preparing for this. In addition, I need a body-tempering cultivation technique that is suitable for me. I desperately need to strengthen my physical foundation. After thinking about what he had to do next, Jiang Chengxuan continued to calm down and began to cultivate. Just like that, in the blink of an eye, more than a year passed. When Jiang Chengxuan used the medicinal pill to accumulate and polish the true essence of the 7th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm, he finally stopped cultivating and stood up to walk out of his cultivation room. When he came out, Jiang Chengxuan realized that Shen Ruyan had yet to come out of seclusion. However, from the fluctuations emitted from the quiet room she was in, she should be at a critical moment. Therefore, Jiang Chengxuan didn't go anywhere else. Instead, he waited outside Shen Ruyan's cultivation room and began to guard her. Half a year later, Jiang Chengxuan, who was outside the cultivation room, suddenly turned to look at the door. At the same time, there was a click. The door of Shen Ruyan's cultivation room was slowly opened. Jiang Chengxuan immediately noticed that the aura on Shen Ruyan's body suddenly became a little ethereal. Vaguely, it gave off an indescribable pressure on people. However, he could clearly sense that, at this moment, her cultivation had yet to advance to the Violet Palace realm. Husband. Seeing that Jiang Chengxuan was guarding her outside, a smile bloomed on Shen Ruyan's beautiful face. Thank you for guarding me. Jiang Chengxuan immediately smiled and shook his head. Wife, what are you saying? This is nothing. Besides, there's no need to be so polite between us. Yes. Shen Ruyan nodded with a smile. It was obvious that she was in a good mood. By the way, husband, how's your harvest? Not bad. Jiang Chengxuan didn't hide it from Shen Ruyan. Instead, he told her everything he had gained from his seclusion period. When Shen Ruyan heard that, her beautiful eyes lit up. She looked at Jiang Chengxuan and couldn't help but praise. I really didn't expect you to gain so much during this period of seclusion. Right now, you're only at the 7th level, but you already have the strength to threaten a Violet Palace realm cultivator. In the future, when your cultivation level increases, you'll definitely be even more extraordinary. Don't just talk about me. How is your harvest? Jiang Chengxuan teased with a smile. Just now, I almost thought that you had already broken through to the Violet Palace realm. Shen Ruyan smiled and shook her head. Although I haven't broken through to the Violet Palace realm, I've already successfully fused the lightning stone into the Thunderbolt Lightning Fire Sword and completely activated its quality as a level 3 Dharma treasure. With it, I'm really not afraid of ordinary Violet Palace realm cultivators. In fact, during the Demon Beast riot, she had successfully killed the heavily injured level 3 Demon Beast, the Stealthy Bat, with the Thunderbolt Lightning Fire Sword, which was only a level 3 Dharma treasure embryo. Now that her Thunderbolt Lightning Fire Sword had completely reached the power of a level 3 Dharma treasure, her true combat strength should be more than twice as strong as before. It was just unknown how far she was from advancing to the Violet Palace realm. Shen Ruyan didn't hide it from Jiang Chengxuan. Actually, if I want to break through to the Violet Palace realm now, I can do it at any time. However, I don't want to break through to the Violet Palace realm so rashly. Before that, I still need something. Something? Jiang Chengxuan was stunned. Yes. Shen Ruyan nodded. It's the lightning pool under the jurisdiction of the North Cloud sect. The lightning pool under the jurisdiction of the North Cloud sect. That's right. Only by advancing to the Violet Palace realm, there can one truly perfectly forge the foundation of my lightning body. Back then, because of my single lightning spiritual root, I could not advance further. In the end, I chose to go through tribulation and recultivate. Before I enter the tribulation, I prepared the lightning pool for myself in the next life to open up my potential. From then on, she finally revealed a portion of her secrets to Jiang Chengxuan. Although she was still a disciple of the Shen immortal family under the Ganyang sect of the Yun nation, after her memories of her previous life were awakened, Jiang Chengxuan knew that many things were completely different now. This also explained why the current Shen Ruyan was so different from the Shen Ruyan he knew at the beginning. This was not only a change in personality, but also knowledge, experience, bearing, and all the qualities one obtained from hundreds of years of cultivation. It was definitely not something a mere disciple of the Violet Palace realm family could possess. In short, although the current Shen Ruyan still looked the same, in some aspects, she was no longer the previous Shen Ruyan. This sounded a little tongue-twisting, but it was the fact. She was both her and not her. In that case, could it be that the reason why you were born in the cultivation world of the Yun nation back then was related to the arrangements in your previous life? Jiang Chengxuan suddenly thought of this question and immediately asked. I think so. Shen Ruyan nodded slightly. She continued, in fact, with my cultivation at that time, I couldn't control the location at which I wanted to be reborn. I could only predict a rough range of my rebirth, but I couldn't accurately specify where I would be born. Moreover, there were many uncertain factors. Even now, some of my memories are still sealed. For example, among the opportunities I had prepared for this life in my previous life, so far, I only remembered the existence of the lightning pool. Because it concerns the foundation of my cultivation, it was unsealed the moment my memory recovered. At this point, she suddenly looked at Jiang Chengxuan and asked, Husband, do you know why I told you that you and I are actually the same kind of people? Yes, why? He was really curious about Shen Ruyan's question. Simple. Shen Ruyan smiled. Because you and I are both people who have a chance of becoming immortals in the future. I can sense the balanced aura of the five elements from you. This is a manifest that only people with true five-element spiritual roots can have. It's also the best aptitude to become an immortal. It's different from those people who have imbalanced five elements, which is called the false five-element spiritual roots. Because of balance, the five elements can coexist harmoniously and establish a foundation for the great Tao. As for me, although I only have a single lightning spiritual root now, I have a backup plan that I had long prepared in my previous life. Moreover, I have yet to break through to the Violet Palace realm, so I still have a chance to reconstruct my spiritual roots. As long as I go to the lightning pool and use it to absorb the other elements, I can transform my lightning spiritual root into lightning spiritual root with balanced five elements. Shen Ruyan's words were almost identical to the information he had obtained from the system that day. It had to be known that in the current 9 essences cultivation world, not many people knew about the true five-element spiritual root. Even if someone knew the existence of it, they would not be able to identify it, let alone nurture it. All of this stemmed from the lack of the corresponding cultivation technique. However, looking at Shen Ruyan now, she seemed to be very confident about everything she said. This also made Jiang Chengxuan deeply realize a problem. His Dao companion's identity in her previous life probably far exceeded his imagination. As if she could tell what her Dao companion was thinking, she couldn't help but look at Jiang Chengxuan and smile. Husband, there are some things that I will naturally tell you when the time comes. I'm not telling you now because I don't want to affect your mental state. I hope you can understand this. Then she told Xianxia Audiobook something else. For example, why those who had the heavenly spiritual roots and the mutant spiritual roots had no advantage after reaching the golden core realm. On the contrary, most of the cultivators who could reach the nascent soul realm or even the soul formation realm were not born with heavenly spiritual roots. Instead, they had 2 or 3 spiritual roots. This was mainly because the nascent soul realm and the soul formation realm had higher requirements for Dharma power. When cultivators with 2 spiritual roots, 3 spiritual roots, and even 4 spiritual roots reached that stage, they could form a cycle of generation of 5 elements. It was endless and inexhaustible. However, at that stage, those with heavenly spiritual roots or mutant spiritual roots would not have the advantage in this aspect. Their body could only accommodate the Dharma power of one element. Naturally, cultivating would be less effective for them. Unless one's comprehension ability and talent were astonishing, and they could break the restrictions of having only one element Dharma power. Only then would they have a chance of reaching the nascent soul or even the soul formation realm. This was something Jiang Chengxuan didn't know. As everyone knew, in the current cultivation world of the Yun Nation, only those with heavenly and mutant spiritual roots would be known as peerless talents and have a chance of reaching the Violet Palace realm and the Golden Core realm. Perhaps this was also related to the fact that no nascent soul realm cultivator had ever appeared in the cultivation world of the Yun Nation. After all, before reaching that level, it was impossible to know the knowledge of that level. The two of them chatted for a long time. When they walked out of the cave abode and headed for the main peak of the splendid Jade Mountain, they immediately sensed that the entire Shen immortal family was shrouded in a heavy atmosphere. Did something happen again? The two of them could not help but frown. When the couple descended on the main peak of the splendid Jade Mountain, they immediately saw that Shen Beifei, Shen Rushwang, Shen Daiyuan, Xiang Wandao, and the other elders of the Shen immortal family had already gathered here. There was obvious worry and a hint of anger on their faces. What is going on? Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan immediately went forward to ask. Soon, they learned the situation from everyone. It turned out that not long ago, the newly promoted Violet Palace Realm immortal family, the Lin family, wanted to choose a place to settle down in Flatland County. Originally, the area they wanted to choose the most was naturally the level 3 spiritual vein, where the Flowing Cloud sect was located. However, when the Demon Beast riot broke out, the location of the Flowing Cloud sect was destroyed along with the level 3 spiritual vein. They had no choice but to choose a new place to settle down. After all, the current Flatland County was the most suitable place for new Violet Palace realm immortal families like them. Normally, the arrival of a newly promoted Violet Palace realm immortal family would be heavily objected to by the other Violet Palace realm families or sects that had already been established there. After all, everyone wanted to grab as many resources as they could. It would be strange if they were willing to give out resources. After the Demon Beast riot, the current flat land county had already become the weakest place among the many places under the Ganyang sect. Most importantly, the Lin family, which had just advanced to the Violet Palace realm, was an affiliate family of the Hong family. They wanted to come to Flat Land County to settle down. Even the strongest immortal family in Flat Land County, the Zhang family, did not raise any objections. Originally, the Shen immortal family had no problem with that. However, the thing was that the place the Lin family chose to settle down was where the Crimson Gold mine was located. This was unacceptable to the Shen immortal family. One had to know that the Crimson Gold mine was the most important industry of the Shen immortal family now. Not to mention the economic value of the Crimson Gold mine, just the scarlet flame crystal that was about to be nurtured was definitely not something the Shen immortal family would be willing to give away. Is it because the Lin family discovered the Crimson Gold mine that they insisted on choosing that area as their family's base? At this moment, Jiang Qingxuan could not help but ask. Hearing his words, Shen Beifei, who was the most senior, immediately shook his head. I don't think so. I think the area they chose happened to be where the Crimson Gold mine is located. So this is purely a coincidence? Shen Ruyan asked with a frown. Shen Rushwang looked worried. She nodded and then shook her head. In the beginning, perhaps, but after we've had many disputes, the Lin family must have had some suspicions when they saw that our Shen family is unwilling to back down. Most importantly, our ancestor's condition is getting worse and worse. He's currently in seclusion to recuperate. We don't dare to disturb him easily. Xing Wandao also spoke in a low voice. That's right. Moreover, the family head has yet to come out of seclusion. We don't know how to deal with this matter. Shen Deiyuan nodded in agreement. Hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan couldn't help but look at each other. The two of them understood that this matter was indeed a little troublesome. Unless their ancestor, Shen Yuanlong, personally appeared, it was probably impossible to get the Lin family to change the location of their base. With their ancestor's current condition, once he was forced to come out of seclusion at this time, he would probably not have much time left. Looks like the Lin family is certain that our Shen family won't dare to fall out with them. Yang Chengxuan's voice suddenly turned cold. He and Shen Ruyan looked at each other again before he said to everyone, "Everyone, the sooner this matter is resolved, the better. Otherwise, once the news of the Crimson Gold mine is leaked, not to mention the Lin family, even the other Violet Palace realm immortal families or sects nearby will probably be tempted to snatch." Yang Chengxuan paused for a moment before continuing. "Ruyan and I will handle this matter from now on." "You're going?" Hearing Yang Chengxuan's words, everyone present was shocked. Isn't this too risky? After all, that Lin family's ancestor is a new Violet Palace realm cultivator. Shen Rushwang said worriedly. However, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan shook their heads. Jiang Chengxuan said with a smile, "Cousin Rushwang, have you forgotten that Ruyan killed a level 3 demon beast that day? The Lin family's ancestor is only a newly advanced Violet Palace realm cultivator. Although his strength is slightly stronger than the level 3 demon beast, the stealthy bat, the difference won't be much. At the very least, it will not be a problem for us to escape from him. Most importantly, our Shen family has to show a strong attitude and confidence in this matter. Otherwise, if this continues, I'm afraid things will be even more difficult." Hearing this, Shen Beifei immediately nodded in agreement. Chengxuan is right. In this matter, our Shen family indeed has to show enough attitude. Otherwise, there would be other families challenging us tomorrow. At this point, Shen Beifei looked at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan and said sincerely, "Chengxuan Ruyan, now that ancestor is in seclusion to recuperate, and the family head is in seclusion to break through to the Violet Palace realm, in the entire Shen immortal family, only you two are qualified to deal with this matter. Therefore, I will not try to persuade you not to go. However, I want to say that you have to prioritize your own safety. If you have to, give up the Crimson Gold mine to ensure your own safety." Please. In the end, Shen Beifei bowed solemnly to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. Seeing this, the others present also bowed to the two of them. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked at each other and nodded at everyone present. Don't worry, we know. With that, the couple did not delay any longer. They flew away from the splendid Jade Mountain and towards the location of the Crimson Gold Mine. At the Crimson Gold Mine, Su Kaiyan, who was inside the array, looked at the Lin family members who came from all directions and began to build various houses and buildings as if no one was around. His face darkened. He couldn't help but look at a horse-faced middle-aged man and say coldly, "Family head Lin, I've already told you before that this is my Shen family's territory. Are you really going to challenge my Shen immortal family by doing this around our territory?" When the horse-faced middle-aged man called family head Lin heard this, he turned to look at Su Kaiyan and sneered. "You said that this is the territory of the Shen immortal family. Is there any proof? Why don't you call it and see if it will respond to you?" "You?" Su Kaiyan immediately looked angry. The Lin family head continued, "Moreover, it's not like our Lin family hasn't told your Shen family about this before. It was your Shen family who insisted on this place and refused to sell it to us. Is this our Lin family's fault?" At this point, the expression of Lin Wenyuan, the current head of the Lin immortal family, also turned cold. He looked at Su Kaiyan and said coldly, "To tell you the truth, our Lin immortal family wants this place. This is our ancestors' idea. If you have any complaints, you can talk to him personally. Is that so?" Unexpectedly, just as he finished speaking, an indifferent voice suddenly sounded from the side. Lin Wenyuan was shocked and quickly turned around. At some point, two people had already appeared beside him. They were Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, who had rushed over from the Shen immortal family. "And you are?" Lin Wenyuan's pupils constricted. As an 8th-level Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator, he actually did not notice the appearance of Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan at all. This didn't feel right to him. If not for the fact that he knew that Shen Yuanlong was the only Violet Palace Realm cultivator in the Shen immortal family, he would have almost suspected that the two people who suddenly appeared in front of him were both in the Violet Palace Realm. Elder Jiang, Elder Ruyan. Su Kaiyan looked pleasantly surprised. He did not expect that who rushed over to his aid was this couple. Outsiders might not know the strength of the couple, but as one of the core elders of the Shen immortal family, Su Kaiyan knew it very well. With them around, at least they could ensure that the existence of the Crimson Gold Mine would not be leaked. "Are you from the Shen family?" Lin Wenyuan finally reacted. A hint of seriousness appeared in his eyes. He didn't know Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan at all. The people from the Shen immortal family he interacted with previously were Su Kaiyan, Shen Beifei, and the others. This was the first time he had seen Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. However, at first glance, he felt a huge threat from the two of them. Fortunately, at this moment, the Lin Family Foundation Establishment Realm elders in the other areas sensed the arrival of unfamiliar auras and quickly rushed over. There were a total of 4 people with cultivation levels between the 3rd and 7th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm. In addition to Lin Wenyuan, who was originally here, the number of Foundation Establishment Realm elders on the Lin family side reached 5. Almost subconsciously, they surrounded Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. A tall and thin man said, "This is the base of the Lin immortal family. Did you get permission to enter this area?" The base of the Lin immortal family. Hearing this tall and thin man's words, Jiang Chengxuan was so angry that he laughed. He turned to look at the tall and thin man and couldn't help but sneer. "You said that this is the Lin immortal family's base. Is there any proof? Try calling it and see if it will respond to you." Puff. Shen Ruyan couldn't help but chuckle. This made the tall and thin man and Lin Wenyuan's expressions turn fierce. Especially Lin Wenyuan. Does the Shen immortal family really want to be enemies with the Lin immortal family? A cold look gradually appeared in Lin Wenyuan's eyes. Immediately, the other 4 Foundation Establishment Realm elders immediately locked their auras on Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. As long as Lin Wenyuan, the family head, gave the order, or if Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and the others made any moves, the Lin family's Foundation Establishment Realm elders would attack without hesitation. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes slowly turned cold. He looked at Lin Wenyuan and the Lin family elders and said calmly, "It's not that the Shen immortal family wants to be enemies with the Lin immortal family, but the Lin immortal family has gone too far. The Shen immortal family has already told you many times that this is our territory and has clearly rejected your request to build a base here. However, the Lin immortal family still insists on building a base here. Are you taking the initiative to be our enemy, or are you not taking the Shen immortal family seriously at all?" At this point, Jiang Chengxuan's voice was already filled with killing intent. He said coldly, "I'll tell you one last time, please leave the Shen immortal family's territory immediately. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite." "How dare you?" Hearing Jiang Chengxuan's words, all the Lin family elders, including Lin Wenyuan, were furious. They really didn't expect this attitude from the elder of the Shen family, who appeared out of nowhere. Did they really think that the Lin family would not dare to attack the Shen family? Killing intent suddenly flashed across Lin Wenyuan's eyes. Now that the two sides had reached this point, there was no room for negotiation. The Lin family would never give up on this place that they had carefully chosen. Moreover, they had reason to suspect that the Shen family valued this place so much because there were some secrets inside. The reason why they held back from attacking the Shen family previously was partly because they were afraid of Shen Yuanlong, and partly because they had not found a suitable reason to attack. Now the Shen family's elder challenged them blatantly. The Lin family had a justifiable reason to attack. When the Lin family dealt with Jiang Xianxia and the others and occupied this area, they would set up a huge array. At that time, even if Shen Yuanlong really rushed over, it would be too late. Perhaps their ancestor could even use the power of the array to completely take that old fart down. At that time, no one else in the Shen family could pose a threat to them. Perhaps the Lin family would even be handsomely rewarded by the Hong family for this matter. However, it was a pity that Lin Wenyuan and the Lin family elders did not understand what kind of two people they were facing. The moment they chose to attack, they immediately felt that something was wrong. A cool breeze suddenly appeared and swirled around Lin Wenyuan and the other Lin family elders. As soon as the tall and thin man took out a circular Dharma artifact, he immediately felt a chill on his neck. Looking down, he was shocked to discover that a headless corpse was quickly falling. Around him, Lin Wenyuan and the other Lin family elders exclaimed, "Elder Wenhai." This voice entered Lin Wenhai's ears. Then he was dead. "You?" It was only at this moment that Lin Wenyuan and the other elders of the Lin family realized in shock that Jiang Chengxuan, who was originally standing opposite them, had already arrived behind Lin Wenhai, the tall and thin man, at some point. "You actually killed Elder Wenhai." A gray-haired Lin family elder was furious. It had to be known that Lin Wenhai was the youngest Foundation establishment cultivator in the Lin family. His cultivation level had reached the 4th level of the Foundation establishment realm, and he had a high chance of becoming a late-stage Foundation establishment realm cultivator in the future. But now, at this moment, the old man was extremely furious. An abnormally cold killing intent appeared in his eyes as he shouted, "Kid, don't think about returning alive today." As soon as he finished speaking, an ice bead with a cold aura suddenly hit Jiang Chengxuan. Crag trek. Where the ice bead passed, the surrounding air let out a series of frosting sounds. From this, it could be seen how terrifying the cold air emitted by this ice bead artifact was. At the same time, Lin Wenyuan and the remaining 2 Lin family elders were not idle either. Lin Wenyuan immediately took out a huge seal engraved with mountains and rivers. With a might that seemed to weigh 1,000 pounds, it pressed down on Jiang Chengxuan. The other 2. One of them took out an iron lock that was suffused with raging flames, while the other took out a long saber that was suffused with golden light. Clearly, at this moment, they were bent on killing Jiang Chengxuan, and they didn't restrain their strength at all. Facing the combined attack of 4 Foundation establishment cultivators, Jiang Chengxuan couldn't afford to be careless. He first blocked the ice bead attack with the divine light of the Arctic that had the same attribute. Then he used the mid-grade defensive Dharma artifact, the green wood heavenly light shield, to block the joint attack of the other 2 Lin family elders. In the end, he took out his other high-grade level 2 defensive Dharma artifact, the Searing Bell, to block Lin Wenyuan's mountain and river seal. This series of countermeasures shocked the Lin family elders. They did not expect Jiang Chengxuan to have 2 defensive Dharma artifacts. Moreover, one of them had reached high-grade level 2. This was something that even Lin Wenyuan, the head of the Lin family, did not have. For a moment, greed rose in the hearts of the Lin family elders, including Lin Wenyuan. However, greed was quickly replaced by fear. After Jiang Chengxuan blocked the combined attack of the four of them with the divine light of the Arctic and 2 defensive Dharma artifacts, a boundless sea of flames suddenly rose in the surrounding void. Moreover, these flames were all extremely explosive. Almost as soon as the flames got within a meter of Lin Wenyuan and the others, they exploded on their own, causing the protective spiritual light around their bodies to dim. This is a mid-grade level 2 spell, the Sea Burning Flame Explosion. Why does his Sea Burning Flame Explosion carry so much power? This is not supposed to be the power of a mid-grade level 2 spell at all. Among them, a square-faced man suddenly shouted in surprise. Hearing his words, Lin Wenyuan, the old man in his 80s, and the others suddenly reacted. That was right. Speaking of this mid-grade level 2 Sea Burning Flame Explosion spell, their Lin family also had it, and had people who cultivated it. However, they had never seen such a mid-grade level 2 area of effect spell to carry so much power. So much so that they couldn't even fight back. This was very abnormal. Just as this thought flashed through the minds of the few Lin family elders, they suddenly realized in shock that at some point, a needle-like red dot had appeared between the brows of the old elder. Immediately after, the aura on his body dissipated, and his entire body suddenly fell down. He actually died. What in the world is that? Lin Wenyuan and the other 2 Lin family elders felt a chill down their spines. They did not sense any fluctuations just now, but the old man actually died. This was the most terrifying thing. They didn't even know when their opponent made a move. How could they fight back? When did the Shen family have such a powerful cultivator? If they had known this would happen, they wouldn't have attacked Jiang Chengxuan so rashly. Unfortunately, it was too late. Because in the next moment, a needle-like Dharma artifact that was almost imperceptible pierced the square-faced man's forehead. A scream of the square-faced man resounded in the air. This immediately made the expressions of Lin Wenyuan and the remaining Lin family elder change. 1 against 5, but 3 of the 5 were already killed by the other party. At the thought of this, Lin Wenyuan and the other Lin family elder could not help but feel a sense of fear. Especially Lin Wenyuan. He was the current head of the Lin immortal family, someone with fame and fortune. He was naturally unwilling to die just like that. At that moment, a look of reluctance flashed across his eyes. However, in the end, his expression turned ruthless, and he resolutely took out a talisman that emitted a terrifying aura. It was a level 3 offensive talisman called the Azure Dragon Sword Talisman. It was also his greatest trump card as the head of the Lin immortal family. Kid, you should be honored to die under my level 3 Azure Dragon Sword Talisman. Lin Wenyuan did not hesitate at all. After saying that, he suddenly activated the Azure Dragon Sword Talisman in his hand. Buzz! In an instant, the Azure Dragon Sword Talisman turned into a green sword chi that soared into the sky. With a long roar that sounded like a dragon's roar, it slashed down towards Jiang Chengxuan. Be careful. Not far away, Shen Ruyan immediately reminded. No matter what, the power of a level 3 talisman was not to be underestimated. Jiang Chengxuan knew this very well. His eyes narrowed. In the next moment, the Void Dragon Sword also let out a long cry and turned into a bright sword light that shot into the sky. Rumble! It was also at this moment that large fiery meteors suddenly fell from the sky. They carried the power to destroy everything and collided fiercely with the Azure Dragon Sword chi. Suddenly, a huge explosion erupted in the air. The first meteor was quickly destroyed by the Azure Dragon Sword chi. However, immediately after, a second, a third, and even the 80th and 90th meteors fell. Moreover, the further it went, the stronger it became and the faster it was. In the end, the entire sky turned into a blazing sea of fire. The fierce red and dazzling azure colors intertwined. In the beginning, the Azure Sword Chi had the upper hand. However, as time passed, the light of the Azure Sword Chi gradually became weaker and weaker, until it was completely reduced into nothingness by the last fiery meteor. It was also at this moment that Lin Wenyuan and the last Lin family elder were stunned. If not for the fact that they had seen it with their own eyes, They wouldn't believe that the power of a level 3 talisman would be resolved by a foundation establishment cultivator. That was simply impossible by any stretch of the imagination. Lin Wenyuan and the elder shook their heads crazily. They could not accept this outcome at all. However, whether they could accept this outcome or not, the reality was right in front of them. Yang Chengxuan would not show them any mercy. There was a clang. The void dragon sword instantly transformed into a blazing sword light that slashed at Lin Wenyuan and the remaining Lin family elder. Lin Wenyuan and the remaining Lin family elder immediately took out their Dharma artifacts to block. With a swish, the dazzling sword light immediately sent Lin Wenyuan and his mountain and river seal flying. Then, the void dragon sword turned around in midair and cut the remaining Lin family elder's Dharma artifact into two. The power of the sword light did not decrease. Under the terrified gaze of the Lin family elder, it split him into two. Blood splattered in the sky. When Lin Wenyuan, who was sent flying in the distance, saw this scene, he immediately shouted in pain. At this moment, he really regretted it. If he had known that the other party was so powerful, he would not have fought him no matter what. It was too late now. Just as Jiang Chengxuan's void dragon sword was about to whoosh towards him, a cold snort suddenly sounded in the air. Immediately after, a huge hand formed by Dharma power collided with Jiang Chengxuan's void dragon sword. Boom! A terrifying shock wave spread out in all directions. The large hand formed by Dharma power instantly became faint. On the other hand, the void dragon sword that Jiang Chengxuan slashed out let out a cry and flew back towards him. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan's expression changed slightly, and he looked ahead. At some point in time, a middle-aged man in a green robe had already appeared. This person stood in the air and was staring at Jiang Chengxuan with cold eyes filled with killing intent. Violet Palace Realm Cultivator, Jiang Chengxuan slowly said. At the same time, Lin Wenyuan, who was behind the middle-aged man, shouted in surprise. Ancestor. Lin Tianfen, who was also the Lin family's ancestor, nodded at Lin Wenyuan. Then he turned to Jiang Chengxuan and said coldly, I don't care who you are. I won't let you off today no matter what for killing the elders of the Lin family. Choose for yourself. Do you want to die in my hands or in your own hands? Hearing Lin Tianfen's words, Jiang Chengxuan's expression became extremely solemn. No matter what, the other party was a genuine Violet Palace Realm cultivator, even though he had just advanced to this realm. Jiang Chengxuan did not think that he could easily offend a Violet Palace Realm cultivator, just because he had a trump card that could resist him. After all, who could guarantee that, as a Violet Palace Realm cultivator, Lin Tianfen did not have any trump cards? If he really had this thought, it could only mean that he had been blinded by his own strength. Even if he was lucky enough to not die today, he would definitely die in someone else's hand because of his arrogance. One had to know that, on the path of cultivation, underestimating the enemy was the biggest mistake. Besides, Jiang Hengxuan was not really qualified to underestimate anyone. It was precisely because Jiang Chengxuan knew this that he chose to go all out and attack with all his might when facing the Lin family's ancestor, Lin Tianfen, who had suddenly appeared. In an instant, flame rings began to appear on his void dragon sword. The entire void dragon sword began to vibrate. Accompanying this was low cries of the sword, and an abnormally terrifying aura that burst out. This made Lin Tianfen, who was originally looking at Jiang Chengxuan calmly, immediately narrow his eyes. His heart was instantly in turmoil. This aura is... How is that possible? Just as this thought flashed through his mind, the void dragon sword in Jiang Chengxuan's hand suddenly turned into a red light that instantly shot towards Lin Tianfen. It was the 100th fire meteor that he had comprehended on his own. It was called Crimson Light. With this strike unleashed, everything within 100 miles turned red. Lin Tianfen immediately felt a great danger suddenly approaching, causing his face to turn pale. What exactly was going on? The other party was only at the Foundation establishment realm. How could he unleash such a terrifying attack? He muttered something under his breath. In the next moment, a jade-white pagoda suddenly flew out from above his head and faced Jiang Chengxuan's crimson light. The pagoda instantly expanded to 1,000 feet in size. Ring-like white halos spread out, trying to extinguish Jiang Chengxuan's crimson light. However, how could this attack that almost exhausted Jiang Chengxuan's full strength be so easily blocked? In almost an instant, the halos around the jade-white pagoda that Lin Tianfen summoned dissipated. Immediately after, crimson light physically collided with the pagoda. There was a loud bang. Shockwaves that were like lasers shot out in all directions. One of the shockwaves swept past a 1,000-meter-tall mountain in the distance and cut it into half. Countless dust rose into the sky and dimed half of the sky in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, Lin Tianfen spat out a mouthful of blood. His body, which was floating in the air, immediately trembled, and he could not help but exclaim, "My white jade exquisite pagoda." As soon as he finished speaking, the jade-white pagoda that was still 1,000 feet tall suddenly spun and flew back. Every time it flew for a distance, the pagoda would shrink in size. When it flew back to Lin Tianfen's hand, it had already returned to the size of a palm. However, the pagoda was dim, and there were obvious cracks on its surface. It was obviously damaged. Damn it! What kind of monster was that guy? Lin Tianfen's eyes turned bloodshot. He knew that he had to go all out. Otherwise, facing Jiang Chengxuan's crimson light, he might really die. With that thought in mind, a large amount of blood-colored air suddenly rose from his body. This was a sign that he was burning his blood. With a clang, a silver-white spear suddenly flew out from the top of his head. With a might that could destroy everything, it faced Jiang Chengxuan's crimson light. Another terrifying bang erupted in the air. Because of the burning of his blood, the silver spear that Lin Tianfen took out slowly began to gain the upper hand in the collision with crimson light. Upon realizing this, the corners of Lin Tianfen's mouth curled up. "Kid, today, I'll let you know the gap between the Violet Palace realm and the Foundation Establishment realm." "Oh, really?" As soon as he finished speaking, a woman's indifferent voice suddenly sounded in his ear. This caused his expression to change. However, before he could react, a sword light that was even more terrifying than crimson light suddenly appeared in front of him. "It's level 3 Dharma treasure," Lin Tianfen immediately exclaimed. He would never have thought that after Jiang Chengxuan, there was actually someone else who could erupt with the combat strength of the Violet Palace realm at the Foundation Establishment realm. Moreover, this time, it was even stronger than the power Jiang Chengxuan had displayed just now. Caught off guard, he did not have time to react before he was cut into two by the sword light. Along with his soul, he was annihilated by the sword light. It was a pity that, as a dignified Violet Palace realm cultivator, he died under the sneak attack of a Foundation Establishment cultivator. Yes, Shen Ruyan's attack just now could indeed be considered a sneak attack. Taking advantage of the fact that Lin Tianfen had placed all his attention on Jiang Chengxuan, she took him by surprise and used her level 3 Dharma treasure, the Thunderbolt Lightning Fire Sword, to kill him in one go before he could react. Clang! At the same time, the silver spear, which had lost the support of its master's Dharma power, was immediately at a disadvantage in the confrontation with Jiang Chengxuan's crimson light. The entire spear was quickly sent flying. Shen Ruyan, who was in midair, caught it. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The silver spear that was caught by Shen Ruyan seemed to want to struggle. In the end, Shen Ruyan pinched it hard and the spear fell silent. From then on, all the Lin family elders present, including the Lin family's ancestor, had died except for Lin Wenyuan, the family head. Lin Wenyuan, who had witnessed all of this with his own eyes, shuddered nonstop. Without another word, he burned the blood in his body and began to flee crazily into the distance. He roared in his heart, "Impossible, impossible. They are only at the Foundation Establishment realm. How could they kill Ancestor, who is at the Violet Palace realm? This is not real. I must inform the Hong family about this. There are actually 2 freaks in the Shen family who can fight a Violet Palace realm cultivator. As long as I can pass this information to the Hong family, I believe that, with the Hong family's usual style, they will definitely not tolerate the existence of these 2 freaks. Just you wait. This matter is not over. I will definitely make you and the entire Shen immortal family pay a painful price." As his mind raced, Lin Wenyuan had already flown hundreds of kilometers away. Just when he thought that he might have escaped from the demonic claws of those 2, a cold woman's voice suddenly sounded beside his ear. "Lin family head, where are you going?" Lin Wenyuan immediately turned his head stiffly and looked to his side. At some point, Shen Ruyan had already appeared beside him and was looking at him indifferently. Lin Wenyuan immediately revealed a smile that was uglier than crying. he said with some difficulty. What happened just now was actually a misunderstanding. To be honest, I have a secret about the Hong family that I want to share with you. Oh, really? Shen Ruyan glanced at him indifferently and said coldly. I don't need it, I'm only here to send you to hell. As soon as she finished speaking, she raised her hand. With a buzz, a thunderous sword light with lightning and fire appeared in Lin Wenyuan's vision, scaring him so much that he immediately shouted. No, please, my Lin family has a lot of hidden treasures. I can tell you their location. Before Lin Wenyuan could finish speaking, Shen Ruyan's thunderbolt lightning fire sword had already turned him into a bloody mist. Looking at the blood mist, Shen Ruyan muttered, I will naturally take away all your Lin family's treasures when the time comes. With that, Shen Ruyan turned into a bolt of lightning and quickly returned to Jiang Chengshuan's side. At this moment, Jiang Chengshuan had already arrived at the array formation of the Crimson Gold mine. He had just taken a true essence recovery pill when he saw Shen Ruyan rushing back from afar. She leaned towards Jiang Chengshuan and asked with concern, Husband, how are you? Are you all right? Jiang Chengshuan smiled and nodded. Don't worry, I'm fine. I'm just a little exhausted. That's good. Shen Ruyan nodded. As she spoke, she seemed to realize something and couldn't help but say in surprise, where's Elder Su? Why isn't he here? The moment she finished speaking, a streak of light suddenly flew over from not far away. It was Su Kaiyan. It turned out that just now, he saw some Lin family disciples fleeing not far away, so he walked out of the array to chase after them. As a veteran Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator of the Shen family, Su Kaiyan knew very well how shocking what Jiang Chengshuan and Shen Ruyan had done today was. Fighting against a Violet Palace Realm cultivator as a Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator. In the past, Su Kaiyan had never even heard of such a thing, let alone seen it. The difference between the Violet Palace Realm and the Foundation Establishment Realm was really too great. It was like the difference between a firefly and the bright moon. Therefore, his first thought was that he could not let the disciples of the Lin family spread this matter. His second thought was to eliminate them completely. Therefore, there was clearly still a trace of killing intent on Su Kaiyan, who had just returned. Elder Su. Jiang Chengshuan and Shen Ruyan immediately greeted Su Kaiyan. Su Kaiyan also nodded at the two of them and sighed. I really didn't expect the strength of the two of you to have reached such a level. Don't worry, I've already wiped out all the Lin family disciples who escaped just now. No one else will know about what you did today. At this point, Su Kaiyan seemed to have thought of something and said with a solemn expression. But then again, what do you think we should do next? Jiang Chengshuan and Shen Ruyan looked at each other. Jiang Chengshuan said, Elder Su, we have already become mortal enemies with the Lin family. Since we're already mortal enemies, there's nothing to say. We can only exterminate them all. All right. Su Kaiyan agreed with Jiang Chengshuan. He thought for a moment and said to the two of them, Next, regarding the extermination of the Lin family, I personally think that it's best if you two don't appear for the time being, lest someone notices your real strength. Fortunately, given the remaining strength of the Lin family, our Shen family is enough to deal with them. I will look for Brother Beifei and the others to discuss this matter later. We will strive to completely wipe out the Lin family in the shortest time possible. I wonder what you two think. It had to be said that Su Kaiyan had shown thoughtfulness and wisdom befitting an experienced elder. During the Demon Beast riot that day, Shen Ruyan had already attracted the attention of many people by killing the level 3 Demon Beast, the stealthy bat. Fortunately, they were able to explain it by saying that the stealthy bat was already seriously injured. In addition, what Shen Ruyan killed back then was a great enemy of the human race. Even if some people had suspicions, they did not dare to raise them. Instead, they praised the Shen family for producing a peerless genius. However, that still put Shen Ruyan under the limelight. Fortunately, the Shen family had Shen Mengsu, the first Violet Palace Realm elder of the Ganyang sect, behind them. She took action and suppressed the spread of this news. However, the current situation was different. Apart from Shen Ruyan, who could kill a level 3 demon beast, there was also Jiang Chengshuan. Moreover, the one they killed was a Violet Palace Realm cultivator who was in a good condition. As everyone knew, because humans mastered spells and had the support of various Dharma treasures and divine powers, their strength was often higher than demon beasts in the same realm. Even if the other party just advanced to the Violet Palace realm, it was definitely not someone that two Foundation establishment cultivators could easily challenge. It was obvious that once the news of Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan killing Lin Tianfen spread, it would definitely cause a sensation in the current cultivation world. Therefore, to be safe, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had to keep a low profile. As for how the newly advanced Violet Palace realm cultivator of the Lin family died, they would naturally say that he died at the hands of their Shen family's ancestor. Did they really think that Shen Yuanlong could be challenged by any Tom, Dick, or Harry? At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan nodded at Su Kaiyan, indicating that they agreed with his suggestion. Therefore, Su Kaiyan did not hesitate anymore. After handing the upgraded level 3 array flag to the couple, he turned into a streak of light and flew towards the splendid Jade Mountain. After a while, Shen Beifei and the others, who were in the splendid Jade Mountain, quickly learned about the situation at the Crimson Gold Mine. While they were shocked, they were also pleasantly surprised. They really didn't expect Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan to become so strong after not seeing them for a few years. However, soon, they realized the seriousness of the problem. At that moment, the group of people did not hesitate. After a simple discussion with Su Kaiyan, they made the decision to wipe out the Lin family. In no time, countless cultivators of the Shen family gathered. Shen Beifei even personally went to the ancestral hall to take the level 3 Dharma treasure, the Blue Sea Bell. Then, the group of people secretly rushed towards the Lin family's temporary base. They wanted to destroy the Lin family in the shortest time possible. While the Shen family gathered people and headed to the Lin family's temporary base, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, who were in the Crimson Gold Mine, opened the storage bags that belonged to Lin Tianfen, Lin Wenyuan, and the others. It had to be said that Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had gained a lot this time. Not to mention Lin Tianfen, the Violet Palace realm ancestor of the Lin family, and Lin Wenyuan, the head of the Lin family. Just the other 4 Foundation Establishment realm elders of the Lin family had provided 8 to 9 level 2 Dharma artifacts, many pills, talismans, and precious materials to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. The total value was at least 30,000 spirit stones. As for Lin Wenyuan and Lin Tianfen, they had provided even more to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. First, there were the 2 low-grade level 3 Dharma treasures in Lin Tianfen's storage bag. A white jade exquisite pagoda and a 7 evil treasure spear. Although the former was heavily damaged in the battle with Jiang Chengxuan, it was still a level 3 Dharma treasure. Moreover, it was a Dharma treasure that could attack and defend at the same time. Its value was still above 20,000 spirit stones. As for the level 3 7 evil treasure spear, it should be able to be sold for about 30,000 spirit stones. In total, it added up to about 50,000 spirit stones. In addition, in Lin Tianfen's storage bag, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan found a fist-sized grand white metal stone. This was a level 3 treasure, and was the main material for refining metal attribute level 3 Dharma treasures. Such a fist-sized piece was worth about 50,000 spirit stones, and it was usually very difficult to come by. They really did not know where Lin Tianfen, who had just advanced to the Violet Palace realm, got so many good things. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan instantly realized that the reason why Lin Tianfen had so many good things on him was probably because the Hong family had provided him with them. After all, the Hong family wanted the Lin family to take root in Flat Land County and used them to keep the Shen immortal family in check. If the Hong family did not give them anything, it would seem a little unreasonable. However, the Hong family might not have expected that the Violet Palace realm cultivator they supported, and the things that they supported him with were all taken away by Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan in the end. In addition to the 2 low-grade level 3 Dharma treasures and a level 3 great white metal stone, there were also many level 2 Dharma artifacts, materials, spiritual herbs, pills, and so on in Lin Tianfen's storage bag. One of the high-grade level 2 flying swords, called the Clear Lake Sword, happened to make up for Jiang Chengxuan's losses. After using Crimson Light, his Void Dragon Sword was completely scrapped. The total value of these things was about 30,000 to 40,000 spirit stones. Finally, there was the storage bag of the Lin family's head, Lin Wenyuan. It had to be said that as the head of the Lin family, Lin Wenyuan had a lot of things in his storage bag as well. First was the nearly 100,000 streams of 5 elements essence chi, as well as tens of thousands of streams of thunder, wind, ice, and other elemental essence chi. These were all basic resources that were indispensable for nurturing and upgrading Dharma treasures. Many foundation establishment families and sects would sell the 5-element essence chi and other element essence chi they had condensed to the Violet Palace immortal families or sects in exchange for cultivation resources or spirit stones. They were always in a great need of a large amount of 5-elemental and other elemental essence chi. Back then, in order to completely refine her Thunderbolt Lightning Fire sword to level 3 Dharma treasure, she had taken nearly 50,000 streams of lightning and fire element essence chi from the Shen immortal family. In the future, if Jiang Chengxuan wanted to refine the Dharma treasure embryo that belonged to him, and even turn the Dharma treasure embryo into a true level 3 Dharma treasure, he would also need the 5-element essence chi and the other element essence chi. Therefore, the 5-elemental essence chi and other elemental essence chi in Lin Wenyuan's storage bag were very useful to the current Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. Other than that, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan also obtained a large number of level 2 treasures, spiritual herbs, array discs, and so on from Lin Wenyuan. This might also be related to Lin Wenyuan being the head of the Lin family. There were clearly more things in his storage bag than the others. Finally, there was the mountain and river seal that he had used previously. This was a high-grade level 2 Dharma artifact with a suppression and defense function. It was worth at least 9,000 spirit stones. Considering that Shen Ruyan did not have any decent defensive Dharma artifacts on her, Jiang Chengxuan handed the mountain and river seal to her. By the time the couple finished counting the things in the storage bags, Shen Beifei, Su Kaiyan, and the others had already arrived above the temporary base of the Lin family. Without any hesitation, Shen Beifei immediately took out several level 2 array-breaking talismans from his body. Coupled with Su Kaiyan's understanding of array formations, it did not take long for them to break the protective array of the Lin family's temporary base. One had to know that the original Lin family was only a medium-sized foundation establishment realm family. There were only 6 to 7 foundation establishment cultivators inside the family. Now that they had lost 5 foundation establishment realm elders, including Lin Tianfen, the new Violet Palace realm ancestor, the Lin family was practically defenseless. When the protective array formation was broken, only a 4th-level foundation establishment realm cultivator rushed out with dozens of Qi refinement realm cultivators. At this moment, they clearly did not understand the situation. In almost no time, the 4th-level foundation establishment realm cultivator was surrounded and killed by Shen Beifei, Su Kaiyan, and the others. The remaining Qi refinement realm cultivators naturally did not have the ability to fight back. It wasn't long before they were slaughtered. Then Shen Beifei brought the others into the Lin family's temporary base to plunder the treasures. By the time Shen Beifei flew back to the splendid Jade Mountain, only half a month had passed. At this moment, Su Kaiyan had already returned to the Crimson Gold Mine, where Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were. He roughly told the two of them about the process of exterminating the Lin family. Finally, he smiled and said to the two of them, "Next, if you have nothing else to do here, you can return to the splendid Jade Mountain first. In addition, Brother Beifei, I, and the others have already reached a consensus. The reason why we were able to destroy the Lin family so quickly is all thanks to you. Therefore, when you return, you can be the first to choose what you want among the spoils." Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan nodded. Next, we indeed need to go back and sort out the gains from this trip. According to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's original plan, they would go to the area under the jurisdiction of the North Cloud sect together after ending the matter here. It was naturally for the sake of finding the lightning pool. However, who would have thought that the matter with the Lin family would actually develop to such an extent? Now that they had obtained a large number of resources from those Lin family members, they naturally needed some time to digest them. After all, with every increase in their strength, they would be much safer when they went to the North Cloud sect. After all, it would be the first time they were leaving the area under the jurisdiction of the Ganyang sect. No one knew what they would encounter or what would happen. The only thing they could really rely on was their own strength. By the time Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan bade farewell to Su Kaiyan and returned to the Shen immortal family's base, splendid Jade Mountain, many days had passed. At this moment, the news of the Lin immortal family being destroyed had already reached the Hong family. In a grand hall, a few Violet Palace realm elders of the Hong family listened to the reports of their subordinates with a dark expression. Especially Hong Chengfei. That day he went to the Shen family and returned empty-handed. He had been holding back his anger. Therefore, after that, he suggested letting the newly advanced Lin Tianfen bring his family to Flat Land County to take root. For this, the Hong family had given Lin Tianfen a lot of support, both openly and secretly. And what happened? How much time had passed? Lin Tianfen and his Lin family were actually destroyed. What a piece of trash. Hong Chengfei couldn't help but curse. He looked at the middle-aged man in the lead and said, "Family head, I didn't expect that old fart Shen Yuanlong to really dare to attack. I think he went all out because he knows that he's at the end of his life. Do you think we should get someone to test the Shen immortal family again? Otherwise, it would be a huge humiliation to us if we let this matter rest just like that." An elder of the Hong family called Hong Qinglong could not help but interrupt. "Brother Chengfei, since we already know that that old fart is about to die, why do we have to take the risk to test him again? Aren't you afraid that something like the Lin family will happen again? After all, who can guarantee that that old fellow won't really go crazy and perish with us if we push him too hard?" These words immediately made Hong Xianxia expression freeze. Now that his clan brother, Hong Qinglong, pointed this out, he immediately felt embarrassed and couldn't help but snort. HMPH, even if Shen Yuanlong wants to perish with us, he has to have the ability to do so. However, just as he was about to say something, Hong Daiyuan, the current head of the Hong family, waved his hand at Hong Chengfei. "Enough, this matter ends here for the time being. Get someone to watch the Shen immortal family's every move. If anything happens, report it back immediately. In addition, tell the people of the various sects that our Hong family doesn't want anyone to do business with the Shen immortal family." At the same time, in the splendid Jade Mountain, when Shen Beifei and the others saw Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan return, they were pleasantly surprised. They all went forward to ask the two of them if they were injured when they fought with Lin Tianfen. After everyone was sure that Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were fine, they smiled and said to the two of them, "Chengxuan Ruyan, it's all thanks to you this time." As he spoke, Shen Beifei took out a list and handed it to the two of them. "These are all our gains from the Lin family this time. You can take a look and see if there's anything you need. If there is, you can take it." Hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan didn't stand on ceremony. They reached out to take the list and looked at it. They realized that the Shen family had gained a lot this time. Other than the various materials, spiritual herbs, pills, cultivation techniques, and so on. Just the spirit stones alone numbered more than 100,000. But thinking about it, this was very normal. One had to know that this was all the resources of the entire Lin family. However, there were not many things that were really useful to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. The two of them flipped through it carefully. Apart from a few materials needed to refine weapons, the yellow extreme spiritual jade and the heavenly spiritual dew were what Jiang Chengxuan really needed. However, there were only 2 to 3 of them. After Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan chose what they needed, they did not stay outside any longer. Soon, they returned to their cave abode on the splendid Jade Mountain. After returning to the cave abode, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan decided to enter seclusion for a period of time. Shen Ruyan needed to use the gains she had obtained this time to continue nourishing her Dharma treasure. At the same time, she was prepared to try to refine the level 3 Dharma treasure spear, the 7 evil treasure spear. Initially, Shen Ruyan thought that it would be best if she could refine the white jade exquisite pagoda. Unfortunately, the white jade exquisite pagoda was severely damaged. With the resources they currently had, it was impossible to repair it. As for Jiang Chengxuan, he also had a lot to do. First, he had to refine the high-grade level 2 flying sword he had obtained from Lin Tianfen, the Clear Lake sword. Next, he had to use his gains this time to practice refining weapons and strive to level up his weapon refinement mastery in the shortest time possible. Next was the drawing of the mid-grade golden armor puppet talisman. Although the mid-grade golden armor puppet talisman was no longer as helpful to him as before. However, he wanted to continue making it in the hope that he might trigger the hidden mission. Perhaps, the system reward next time would be an upgrade of the golden armor puppet talisman. Finally, it was time to level up. After the battle with Lin Tianfen, the Violet Palace Realm cultivator, Jiang Chengxuan's accumulation at the 7th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm had already reached perfection. He was already confident that he could successfully break through and step into the domain of the 8th level of Foundation Establishment Realm. Just like that, 4 years passed in a flash. In the first year, Jiang Chengxuan successfully broke through to the 8th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm. The total true essence in his body increased by more than 30%. Then he began to refine the Clear Lake sword. This time, he only spent 3 months successfully refining this high-grade level 2 flying sword. After that, he began his weapon refinement cultivation. At this moment, a system notification sounded. An achievement mission has been issued. Host, please reach level 2 weapon refinement within 2 years. It had to be known that, during the years he was in seclusion back then, he only managed to reach high-grade level 1. As for ordinary high-grade level 1 weapon refiners, it was almost impossible for them to break through to level 2 without decades. If their talent was worse, it was very normal for them to be stuck at the high-grade level 1 for the entirety of their lifetime. Fortunately, Jiang Chengxuan had the talent for refining weapons. In addition, he had relatively sufficient materials to refine weapons. Therefore, after spending about a year and a half, he successfully entered the domain of a level 2 weapon refiner. At the same time, the system's voice sounded again. Congratulations, host. You have reached level 2 weapon refinement. You have received +1 weapon refinement talent and the refinement method for a level 3 Dharma treasure, the Golden Void Sword. This was the first time he had obtained 2 rewards from the system at once. There was no need to talk about the +1 talent. The reason why he could break through to level 2 weapon refinement in such a short period of time was because of his weapon refinement talent that he received back then from the system. The latter was what he needed the most at the moment. Previously, he had been thinking about what kind of level 3 Dharma treasure embryo he should refine. At that time, he was clueless. Even though Shen Ruyan had given him many suggestions, Jiang Chengxuan vaguely felt that he was still lacking something. After all, this concerned his Dharma treasure, which would accompany him for the rest of his life. He could not tolerate any flaws. If you were not careful, the Dharma treasure you refine might be incompatible with you. That was quite a fatal thing. Therefore, until now, Jiang Chengxuan was not completely sure what his future level 3 Dharma treasure embryo would be. But now, when he saw the refinement method of the Golden Void Sword rewarded by the system, he immediately knew what his first Dharma treasure in the future should be. Most importantly, after confirming in his heart that he was going to refine a level 3 Dharma treasure embryo, the system actually issued him another mission. Achievement mission issued. Host, please complete the first refinement of a level 3 Dharma treasure. Mind you, what the system said here was to complete the first refinement of a level 3 Ike Dharma treasure, not the refinement of a level 3 Dharma treasure embryo. Therefore, if Jiang Chengxuan wanted to complete this mission, he had to rely on his own ability to complete the refinement of a level 3 Dharma treasure. This prerequisite was that he had to raise his weapon refinement cultivation to level 3. He just did not know if the system's hidden mission would be triggered after he raised his weapon refinement cultivation to level 3. He was looking forward to it. After that, Jiang Chengxuan began to draw the mid-grade golden armor puppet talisman. With his current mid-grade level 2 talisman-making cultivation, it was really not difficult to draw 3 mid-grade level 2 golden armor puppet talismans. About half a year later, he successfully drew 3 mid-grade level 2 golden armor puppet talismans. It had to be noted that this mid-grade level 2 golden armor puppet talisman was much stronger than the low-grade level 2 golden armor puppet talisman. Not only did the golden armored puppet summon have combat strength comparable to the 5th or 6th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm, but the power of their self-destruction had also reached the late stage of the Foundation Establishment Realm. The duration reached 40 minutes. From this, it could be deduced that if it was the high-grade level 2 golden armor puppet talisman, the self-destruction power might reach that of the Violet Palace Realm. After Jiang Chengxuan finished doing all these things, he did not come out of seclusion immediately. Instead, he calmed down and began to sort out everything he had learned over the years. This also allowed him to have a clearer understanding of his abilities, strength, and methods. By the time he finished it, 4 years had passed quietly. On this day, Yang Chengxuan walked out of his cultivation room. Coincidentally, just as he walked out of his cultivation room, Shen Ruyan, who was in another cultivation room, also opened the door. The couple looked at each other and smiled. Soon, the two of them began to talk about their experiences in seclusion over the years. Through the exchange, Jiang Chengxuan learned that Shen Ruyan had used some materials she had obtained from the Lin family to strengthen her Thunderbolt Lightning Fire sword again. At the same time, she successfully refined Lin Tianfan's low-grade level 3 Dharma treasure, the 7 Evil Treasure Spear. Moreover, during this process, she actually tried to compress her true essence, causing the strength of her true essence to begin to approach the strength of Dharma powers. However, this was a rather dangerous thing to do. A single mistake could cause the compressed true essence to go berserk and blow up your Danshan and meridians. At that time, even if you did not die, you would be completely crippled. Yang Chengxuan did not expect his Dao companion to be so bold. Most importantly, she had done it successfully. It could be imagined that, after she successfully entered the Violet Palace realm in the future, the strength of her Dharma powers would definitely be much stronger than the Dharma powers of other Violet Palace realm cultivators. At least in terms of quantity and grade, it was definitely not something ordinary Violet Palace realm cultivators could compare to. This was also a reminder to Jiang Chengxuan. When he broke through to the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm in the future, he could also try to compress his true essence. However, there was a prerequisite. He had to increase the strength of his physical body first. In this way, it was very necessary to find a body-tempering cultivation technique that was suitable for him. The entire Shen immortal family, Jiang Chengxuan did not find a body-tempering technique he wanted. Perhaps only in the Ganyang market, or the North Cloud sect, or the Starlight sect, could he find a body-tempering cultivation technique that was truly suitable for him. A day later, Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan left their cave abode. The two of them had just arrived at the main peak of the splendid Jade Mountain when Shen Rushwang saw them. A hint of surprise appeared on her face. Chengxuan Ruyan, you're out of seclusion. Coincidentally, Ancestor has also come out of seclusion not long ago. He said that when you come out of seclusion, go to him first. Oh, the Ancestor has come out of seclusion. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were both surprised, because they knew how badly injured Shen Yanlong was back then. Because of that, they did not dare to disturb him when the Shen family was challenged by the Lin family. But now, the Ancestor had come out of seclusion. This made the two of them instinctively have a bad feeling. They did not delay and quickly arrived at Huwu Peak, where Shen Yuanlong was. As soon as they arrived at Huwu Peak, they saw Shen Yuanlong sitting there. At this moment, Shen Yuanlong's hair had completely turned white, and the aura on his body had become unprecedentedly weak. It was evident that he was really not far from the end of his life. At this moment, when he saw Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan coming over, a smile appeared on his wrinkled face. Chengxuan Ruyan, you're here. As he spoke, he gestured for the two of them to take a seat before continuing. I've already heard about what happened before. You did very well. It's our Shen family's blessing to have the two of you. Jiang Chengxuan said humbly, Ancestor, you flatter me. No, I'm not flattering you. Shen Yuanlong shook his head seriously. I know very well that the two of you will definitely go far in the future. Therefore, there are some things I need to tell you in advance. Shen Yuanlong said, in the future, if you really reach a certain height, you can consider breaking away from the Shen family and starting your own family. I'll tell your brother, Shen Dayaming, about this later. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's expressions changed at the same time. However, before they could speak, Shen Yuanlong waved his hand and continued. Listen to me first. I'm not joking with you about this. I'm giving you a sincere suggestion. There will be a day when the Shen family is too small for you. It can accommodate you for a while, but it can't accommodate you forever. Only the sky is big enough for the true dragon to roam. If we really force you to be bound to the Shen family, it will be harmful to both you and the Shen family. These are my honest words. I hope you can understand. Hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan fell silent. They knew their own situation best. Some things were indeed, as Shen Yuanlong had said. Shen Yuanlong continued, "Therefore, in the future, whether you establish your own family or sect, I only hope that within the limits of your ability, you can spare some strength to help the Shen family when we really need help. This is also the only request I have for you." He actually wanted to say these words on the day Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan became Dao companions. However, at that time, it was not appropriate for him to say it. This was more or less his last wish for the couple, and it was also his heartfelt words to them. Ancestor, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had mixed feelings. To be honest, so far, Jiang Chengxuan felt a good sense of belonging in the Shen family. He also liked the current atmosphere in the Shen family. However, he also knew that what bound people together was their bloodline. Since Jiang Chengxuan was not born to a member of the Shen family, strictly speaking, he could not be considered a direct descendant of the Shen family. The truth was the truth. Just as Shen Yuanlong had said, he and Shen Ruyan would eventually climb high. At that time, if he and Shen Ruyan had their own descendants. Then, after countless generations, it was hard to say if the Shen family was still the Shen family or an ancillary family of the Jiang family. If Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were only the most ordinary foundation establishment cultivators, then there was no need to think about these things. Naturally, they would rely on the Shen family. However, the problem was that their future achievements were almost predictable. They would definitely surpass the current Shen family. That way, in order to avoid any future misunderstandings and conflicts, it was necessary to clarify their relationships and some things in advance. Fortunately, both Shen Yuanlong and Shen Mengsu were sensible people. When Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan became Dao companions, they already knew this. That was why Shen Yuanlong said this to the two of them. Moreover, these words were most suitable for Shen Yuanlong, the ancestor of the Shen family, to say. At this moment, Shen Yuanlong looked at the two of them and smiled again. "All right, let's talk about your plans next. If I'm not wrong, it's almost time for the two of you to prepare to advance to the Violet Palace realm, right?" "Yeah." Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan did not deny it. They also told Shen Yuanlong about their plans to go out. When Shen Yuanlong heard it, he was slightly surprised, but he immediately nodded in understanding. "That's right, it's indeed time for you to go out and travel. While I can still hold on, go out if you have to. However, you have to be very careful. It's best to do it quietly, don't alarm too many people." At this point, Shen Yuanlong hesitated slightly, but in the end he said to the two of them, "But then again, if it's possible, I still hope that you can go and meet your ancestor Mengsu. This is something she instructed me a long time ago. Of course. If you really want to see her, you still have to do it secretly. This is a communication Jade talisman that belongs to her. When the time comes, you can use it to contact her. In this way, you won't alarm anyone." As he spoke, Shen Yuanlong took out a milky white jade talisman from his body and handed it to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. Jiang Chengxuan reached out to take the special communication jade talisman. He then nodded at Shen Yuanlong and said, "We understand, ancestor." He and Shen Ruyan looked at each other and finally asked tentatively, "Ancestor, your current health?" As if he knew what Jiang Chengxuan was going to ask, Shen Yuanlong interrupted him and said with a smile, "Don't worry about me. In fact, the fact that I can last until now is already far beyond my initial estimation. I'm already very satisfied. I should be able to hold on for a few more years. I wonder if I can see you guys return and see Dayaming come out of seclusion before I really leave." Shen Yuanlong had come to terms with his imminent death and was very frank about it. However, when Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan heard it, they felt very bad. No matter what, this old man had protected them for many years. Without him, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan could not guarantee that they would be able to reach this point. "Ancestor, you can definitely do it." Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan nodded at Shen Yuanlong solemnly. "We'll be back as soon as we can." "It's good that you say so." Shen Yuanlong smiled and shook his head. "There's no need to force yourself. You still have to prioritize your own matters." At this moment, Shen Yuanlong had a calmness that could only be seen from people who were ready to embrace death. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan did not continue to talk about this. Instead, they stayed at Huowu Peak and accompanied Shen Yuanlong for 2 days. After that, they went outside Shen Dayaming's cave abode. They waited there quietly for a few days. After confirming that Shen Daoming would not come out of seclusion for the time being, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan did not stay any longer. 3 days later, they quietly left the splendid Jade Mountain and headed for the Ganyang sect. Since Shen Yuanlong wanted them to meet Shen Mengsu, they would go and meet her first. They wanted to see if Ancestor Mengsu had anything special to tell them. It was about 1,000,000 miles from the splendid Jade Mountain to the Ganyang sect. Back then, it took them about a month and a half to travel from Ganyang City to Flatland County. With their current cultivation and speed, even if they did not fly at full speed, only about half a month had passed when they arrived at the area around 5,000 kilometers away from the Ganyang sect. At this moment, on a deserted mountain peak, Jiang Chengxuan crushed the special communication Jade talisman in his hand. The two of them waited quietly. In less than 2 hours, a graceful white-haired figure appeared in front of Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. It was Shen Mengsu. At this moment, her appearance had not changed from many years ago. However, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan could clearly feel a lingering death aura on her. This was the backlash from calculating the heavenly secrets. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan both revealed a solemn look. They looked at Shen Mengsu and said, "Ancestor, your condition." Shen Mengsu knew what the two of them were going to ask. She shook her head with a smile. "It's fine, this is my own choice. I've already prepared for the worst." At this point, she looked at the two of them and nodded in admiration. "Good, good, good. Looks like you're not far from entering the Violet Palace realm. I believe it's my brother who asked to come here." Before the two of them could answer, Shen Mengsu continued, "I know that my brother doesn't have much time left. I'm almost the same. I believe he has already told you about the arrangements for the future. Now that you're here, I have a few things to give you." With that, Shen Mengsu flipped her hand. In her palm, a few things appeared. There were 2 jade slips, a token, and a storage ring. The 2 jade slips contained 2 cultivation techniques. One of them was the body-tempering cultivation technique that Jiang Chengxuan was currently lacking. It was called the Infinite Wheel. This was something she had obtained by chance when she was roaming in the cultivation world back then. The conditions to cultivate this technique were very harsh. In addition, this technique was not complete. It was only a fragment. Shen Mengsu once thought that such a top-notch body-tempering cultivation technique that no one could cultivate should be meaningless. However, when she saw Jiang Chengxuan, especially the current Jiang Chengxuan, she knew that she had found its owner. Jiang Chengxuan did not expect Shen Mengsu to give him such a huge surprise, just as he was desperately looking for a body-tempering technique that was suitable for him, even though the infinite wheel in front of him was not complete. However, the moment he saw this body-tempering cultivation technique, he knew that it was what he urgently needed. Other than the infinite wheel, the remaining jade slip also contained a rather important inheritance. It was called the heavenly calculation technique. It was also an incomplete calculation technique. At the same time, it was also the foundation Shen Mengsu relied on. It was worth mentioning that apart from having the ability to calculate the heavenly secrets, this technique could also hide one's heavenly secrets from being seen by others. It could even isolate others from casting a curse on them. However, the conditions to cultivate this technique were also very harsh, and it would greatly deplete the cultivator's lifespan. Therefore, until now, Shen Mengsu was the only person in the entire cultivation world of the Yun nation who had truly grasped this technique. Now, she was giving this technique to the two of them. It was not that she wanted them to cultivate this technique. She just wanted them to have some understanding of it. Then there was the token. This was not for them, but for them to bring it back and hand it to the Shen immortal family. As for its use, it was just a token that could allow one to enter the Ganyang sect and become a core disciple. On the other hand, the last storage ring contained nearly 80% of Shen Mengsu's accumulation over the past hundreds of years. According to Shen Mengsu, the things in this storage ring were for both them and the entire Shen immortal family. The only difference was that they could choose the items first. They could just hand the rest to the Shen immortal family. It was obvious that Shen Mengsu was taking special care of them. Shen Mengsu smiled and said, "All right, it's about time for me to go back. Take care." With that, Shen Mengsu did not give the two of them a chance to speak. Her figure instantly turned into air and dissipated. Seeing Shen Mengsu leave, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan fell into a deep thought. They all had a feeling that this was the last time they would see ancestor Mengsu. They did not know if they would be able to see Shen Yuanlong again when they returned to the splendid Jade Mountain. Putting away these emotions for the time being, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan did not stay here any longer. Instead, they turned around and headed towards the territory of the North Cloud sect. From their current location to the territory controlled by the North Cloud sect, it was about 10 times the distance from the splendid Jade Mountain to the Ganyang sect. Even with their current cultivation, it would take them about 3 months to reach there at full speed. Their goal was very clear. They wanted to find the lightning pool that Shen Ruyan had left for herself in her previous life. However, a long time had passed. Even Shen Ruyan didn't know the exact situation of the place where she left the lightning pool. Everything would have to wait until they reached the territory of the North Cloud sect before they could properly understand and investigate. In the blink of an eye, more than 4 months had passed. On this day, they arrived at a level 2 market called the Kun Mountain Market. It was said that this was a market city under the jurisdiction of the North Cloud sect's affiliated sect, the Kun Mountain sect. It was considered a bustling market. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, who had already disguised themselves, first rented a cave abode here to stay. Then, they began to inquire about the situation in the entire North Cloud sect. Over a period of more than 2 months, they finally found some clues. If I'm not wrong, the lightning pool I left behind should be one of these 5 locations. At this moment, Shen Ruyan pointed at a map in front of them and said. Jiang Chengxuan looked at the 5 places she was pointing at. He discovered that the 5 places were the Fallen Leaves Mountain Range, the Autumn Wind Ridge, the Cloud Wave Lake, Moon City, and the Flying Rainbow Swamp. Among them, the Fallen Leaves Mountain Range and Autumn Wind Ridge were both peripheral areas where demon beasts lived. The danger level was not too high. The Cloud Wave Lake was the biggest lake under the jurisdiction of the North Cloud sect. It was extremely large. With Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's current cultivation levels, the danger of going there was also within their ability to handle. However, the problem was that it was too big. It would probably take a lot of effort and time to find the lightning pool. Next was Moon City. This city was the #1 city of a Violet Palace Realm sect, the Moon Watcher sect. If the lightning pool that Shen Ruyan had left behind was in Moon City, it would really be troublesome. Especially the core area of Moon City, it was not easy for outsiders to enter. As for the Flying Rainbow Swamp, it was a relatively dangerous area. This was the habitat of the demon beast, the 3-tailed demon crocodiles. There were a host of them. If they were not careful, they might alarm the level 3 3-tailed demon crocodiles. Even with Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's current strength, there was a possibility of them dying there. Husband, the Fallen Leaves Mountain Range, and Autumn Wind Ridge are the 2 places with the least risk. Shen Ruyan pointed at the Fallen Leaves Mountain Range and Autumn Wind Ridge on the map and said to Jiang Chengxuan, "Why don't we start from these 2 places first? If there's the lightning pool I left behind, it's best. If not, we'll consider searching elsewhere. What do you think?" "I have no objections." Jiang Chengxuan nodded in agreement. However, at this moment, the restriction of the cave abode they were in was suddenly activated. This made both of them frown slightly. Especially when they saw the 3 strange people standing outside the cave abode, their eyes narrowed. They looked at each other. There was nothing to be afraid of. Soon, they lifted up the restriction of the cave abode and looked at the 3 people standing outside. "We don't seem to know the 3 of you. I wonder what brought you here." The 3 of them were 2 men and a woman. The man in the lead was a burly man with a beard. He was at the 6th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. When he heard Jiang Chengxuan's words, he immediately smiled and cupped his fists. "I'm Lei Peng, an independent cultivator of this area. The 2 people beside me are Guo Zixao and Sun Yukin. They are also Foundation Establishment realm independent cultivators like me. We took the liberty to come here this time, because we understand that the 2 of you seem to be looking for an opportunity left behind by a senior." Hearing Lei Peng's words, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan narrowed their eyes. They had long known that if they were seen inquiring about something, it would definitely arouse suspicion, even though they had tried to be careful. However, the only thing they did not expect was that the first to find them were not the people from the local Violet Palace realm immortal sects or families, but 3 independent cultivators. Of course, Even if Lei Peng and the others claimed that they were independent cultivators, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, who did not know them at all, still put a question mark to their real identity. At this moment, Lei Peng continued to smile and say, "To be honest, we happen to have a relatively accurate location of the cave abode left behind by a senior. However, that senior had set up layers of restrictions on the cave abode when he was alive. Without enough manpower and strength, it's impossible to break the restrictions in the cave abode. I know that the two of you should be independent cultivators like us who came here from other places, so I was wondering if I could invite you to join hands with us. Don't worry, after this is done, we can distribute the gains according to how much we contribute. I wonder if the two of you are interested in this." It had to be said that Lei Peng's words were very tempting. They had been cautious enough in their investigation of Jiang Chengxuan and his wife. In fact, it was not difficult to find out that the couple had come from somewhere else. If Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were really ordinary Foundation establishment realm independent cultivators and had been searching for the cave abode left behind by a senior, they might really be tempted by Lei Peng's words. Unfortunately, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were not ordinary independent cultivators. What they were looking for was not the cave abode of a deceased senior. Of course, the most important thing was, they would not trust strangers easily. So, after hearing what Lei Peng said, they immediately shook their heads without hesitation. "I'm sorry, we're not interested in what you're talking about." Chapter 1 Shadow Tracking Gu. Hearing Jiang Chengxuan's answer, Lei Peng and the other two were stunned. Clearly, Jiang Chengxuan's reaction was different from what they had expected. "Fellow Taoists, are you really not going to consider it carefully? We're really very sincere, if..." Lei Peng obviously wanted to persuade them further, but Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were no longer interested in talking with them. Jiang Chengxuan waved his hand and said calmly, "There's no need, please leave." With that, he closed the cave abode without waiting for the three of them to react. Seeing the cave abode close in front of them, Lei Peng and the other two had ugly expressions. Guo Zixiao and Sun Yukon said angrily, "They really don't know what's good for them. We invited them with good intentions. I didn't expect them to have such an attitude." Then Guo Zixiao looked at Lei Peng and said, "Brother Lei, these two people are unwilling to join us. What should we do next?" Lei Peng thought for a moment and said, "Since they don't want to work with us, let's find someone else. Anyway, there are so many people in the Kun Mountain market. I don't believe that we can't find someone who is willing to work with us." As they spoke, the three of them had already left the cave abode where Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were. At the same time, in the cave abode, Shen Ruyan looked at Jiang Chengxuan and said, "Husband, it seems like it's time for us to change our identities." Indeed, in the past 2 months, although they were already very careful, they would still attract some attention. Therefore, it was necessary to change the identity again. Jiang Chengxuan clearly knew this too. He nodded readily. "Wife, you're right. In that case, let's change our identities before we go to the Fallen Leaves, Mountain Range and Autumn Wind Ridge." A few days later, after Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan changed their appearances, they left the Kun Mountain Market together. Their destination this time was the Fallen Leaves mountain range that was relatively close to this place. There was a total of about 300,000 to 400,000 kilometers. With their current cultivation, it would only take them 3 to 4 days to fly at full speed. However, after they were about 5,000 kilometers away from the Kun Mountain Market, they suddenly stopped in midair and looked behind them. "Guys, you've been following us for so long. Shouldn't you show yourself?" As soon as he finished speaking, 4 people suddenly walked out from behind Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. 3 men and 1 woman. The one in the lead was a bald, burly man at the 8th level of the Foundation establishment realm. He looked at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan and said with a chuckle, "I really didn't expect to be discovered by you guys here. How unlucky." Seeing the bald man and the other 3, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were clearly surprised. Previously, they thought that the ones who had been secretly following them were Lei Peng and the other 2. They did not expect that it was not them, but the other 4 unfamiliar fellows. This made Jiang Chengxuan's eyes narrow. He looked at the 4 of them and said calmly, "If I remember correctly, I don't seem to know you. Why are you following us?" At this moment, a feminine man beside the bald, burly man suddenly laughed. He looked at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan and smiled. Do you really think that we won't recognize you after you change your appearance?" As he spoke, a bug that looked like a cricket suddenly appeared in his hand. However, the bug was bigger than a cricket and its compound eyes were green. "This is—" Jiang Chengxuan frowned deeply and his eyes narrowed. The feminine man continued to smile and say, "Why, have you recognized my treasure?" "That's right. My treasure is the shadow tracking goo. It can lock onto the location of the person being tracked through their aura. So, even if you change your appearance, you will still not be able to shake away my shadow tracking goo." "So," Shen Ruyan said coldly. The feminine man and the bald burly man looked at her in surprise. Then, the bald burly man chuckled and said, "To be honest, we're very interested in what you've been inquiring about previously, so we hope you can share it with us. Don't worry, as long as the things you inquired can satisfy us, we can consider not making things difficult for you." In other words, if what Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan inquired couldn't satisfy them, or if the two of them were unwilling to cooperate, they would have a hard time. The other party was clearly threatening them. It was unknown if it was because Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked especially easy to bully, or if the burly man and his cohort were too confident in themselves, but they actually looked like they were confident in defeating the two of them. Since that was the case, there was nothing more to say. Yang Chengxuan took out his clear lake sword. With a clang, it slashed at the feminine man. Shen Ruyan was not idle either. The cursed light sword flew out of her hand. After a few flashes in the air, it arrived in front of the bald burly man. Clearly, the bald burly man and the feminine man did not expect that Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan would dare to attack first when they were facing 4 Foundation establishment cultivators at the same time. "You're courting death." In almost an instant, cold killing intent shot out of the eyes of the bald burly man and the feminine man. A battle axe and a fan appeared in their hands. The battle axe was dark gold in color. There were even circles of green airflow that looked like vortexes around it. The fan was even stranger. The moment it was taken out, it suddenly expanded to dozens of feet in size. With a light flap, a pitch-black wind whistled out. As for the remaining two, they were not idle either. One of them raised his hand and released a shuttle-shaped Dharma artifact. It was completely black, making it extremely difficult for people to capture its traces. The other person, the female cultivator, took out an aqua-blue flying sword with dense sword chi. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan casually released the green wood heavenly light shield and easily blocked the attack of the shuttle-shaped Dharma artifact. Shen Ruyan, on the other hand, pointed casually. Crack! Dazzling lightning immediately lit up in the void. When it hit the aqua-blue flying sword, the lightning caused the sword to dim. This scene immediately shocked the female cultivator and the other person. However, before they could react, they were shocked to see that Jiang Chengxuan's clear lake sword was emitting an extremely dazzling sword light. Not only did it instantly evaporate the black wind created by the fan, but it also sent the fan flying several kilometers away. In the end, the power of the clear lake sword did not decrease at all. Hiss! The protective barrier formed by true essence in front of the feminine man was instantly torn apart. Under the shocked gaze of the feminine man, the terrifying sword light slashed into his body, splitting him into 2 from head to toe. At the same time, the cursed light sword that Shen Ruyan slashed out also emitted an extremely terrifying power. There was a soft clang in the air. The battle axe that the bald, burly man took out was immediately sent flying. What followed was an extremely dazzling lightning that suddenly rose from the body of the cursed light sword. Crackle! The bald man had no time to react. His body was drowned by countless lightning bolts. When the lightning on his body dissipated, his huge head had already been cut off. Seeing this, the remaining 2 were already scared out of their wits. They never thought that the 4 of them were actually tracking such terrifying 2 fellows. How were these 2 fat sheep? They were clearly 2 extremely ferocious beasts. You want to run away?" Shen Ruyan's beautiful eyes sharpened. The cursed light sword in her hand flew out again. Buzz! An invisible ripple suddenly swept through the air. The 2 people who were fleeing. The female cultivator's beautiful head immediately fell off. The corpse slammed into the ground below, stirring up a large amount of dust. This made the last male cultivator even more terrified. He immediately begged, "Don't kill me, don't kill me. I'm instructed to do this by young Master Yao, This really has nothing to do with me. When Shen Ruyan, who was about to kill the male cultivator, heard this, her beautiful eyebrows frowned. The cursed light sword that was about to pierce through the male cultivator's neck suddenly turned in midair. Then a green net fell and trapped the male cultivator. He could not break free at all. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan immediately appeared in front of him. Jiang Chengxuan asked in a low voice, "What exactly is going on? Who is the young master Yao you mentioned just now?" The male cultivator was clearly scared out of his wits by the couple. When he heard Jiang Chengxuan's question, he immediately told him everything he knew. It turned out, the real mastermind behind all of this was a person called Yao Pingyan. This person was the direct great-great-grandson of the supreme elder of the Kun Mountain sect, Yao Jiangshan. It was said that he was very doted on by Yao Jiangshan, the Violet Palace realm ancestor. However, because his cultivation aptitude was average, he was already more than 90 years old, and his cultivation level was only at the second level of the foundation establishment realm. According to his progress, if he did not encounter any great opportunities in the future, he would probably stop at the foundation establishment realm for the rest of his life. There was no hope at all for the Violet Palace realm. So, in order to change the situation, Yao Pingyan used his ancestor's name to hire many cultivators. On one hand, he wanted them to find out the whereabouts of some fortuitous opportunities for him, and on the other hand, he wanted them to do some shady things for him. Undoubtedly, what Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan inquired about in the Kun Mountain market had obviously attracted young Master Yao's attention. Therefore, he asked the four of them to keep an eye on Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. Once they made a move or left the Kun Mountain market, they had to find a way to track them down. If possible, it would be best if they could dig out the secrets in their mouths. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked at this male cultivator. The two of them did not show any mercy and took his life in a neat manner. Shen Ruyan said, "It seems that Yao Pingyan has been eyeing us for a long time." A trace of coldness flashed across Jiang Chengxuan's eyes. He said calmly, "No matter what, we've already made an enemy of him. When we return to splendid Jade Mountain in the future, we have to settle the score with him no matter what. However, before that, we still have to find the lightning pool." As they spoke, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had already opened the storage bags of the bald, burly man and the other three. From the storage bags of the four of them, the couple discovered several different types of tracking talismans and tools. Among them was the shadow tracking goo. In addition, they also found 7 or 8 level 2 Dharma artifacts from their storage bags. They ranged from low-grade to mid-grade to high-grade. By a rough estimation, it was worth about 20,000 to 30,000 spirit stones. If they included the pills and treasures in their storage bags, the value was almost equivalent to 40,000 to 50,000 spirit stones. The couple did not linger around and quickly headed to their destination. A few days later, they finally arrived at the Fallen Leaves mountain range. This was the peripheral area where the demon beasts roamed. To Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, who were already half a step into the Violet Palace realm, a place like the Fallen Leaves mountain range was not too dangerous. Usually, some Qi refinement realm cultivators would occasionally come here to hunt some level 1 demon beasts to earn spirit stones. According to the directions on the map, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan searched here for more than a month. During this period, they killed many level 1 demon beasts. There were very few level 2 demon beasts. However, they still found nothing. On Shen Ruyan's side, she didn't sense the existence of the lightning pool. One had to know that if the lightning pool wasn't too far away from them, Shen Ruyan could more or less sense it. Now more than a month had passed. Shen Ruyan still did not sense anything, so there were only 2 possibilities. One was that they had yet to reach the range where Shen Ruyan could feel the lightning pool. The other possibility was that the lightning pool was not in the Fallen Leaves mountain range. Just as they decided to search the remaining areas, 7 or 8 figures suddenly appeared not far from them. Jiang Chengxuan turned around. Among the 7 to 8 figures, an old man and a young girl were at the front. The 2 of them seemed to be being chased by a few figures behind them. There were obvious signs of injuries on their bodies, especially the old man, who was at the 7th level of the foundation establishment realm. His body was covered in dense wounds that were constantly bleeding. Behind the 2 of them, there were 5 men with demonic auras. One was at the 7th level of the Foundation Establishment realm, 2 were at the mid-stage of the Foundation Establishment realm, and 2 were at the perfected Qi refinement realm. Xianxia Audiobook and Shen Ruyan recognized the 5 people at a glance. They were demonic cultivators. They did not expect there to be demonic cultivators in the Fallen Leaves mountain range. Just as this thought flashed through the couple's minds, the girl who was running in front suddenly saw them. Then she revealed an anxious expression. Fellow Taoists over there behind us are demonic cultivators from the Phantom Cave. Run quickly, don't be caught by them. With that, the girl suddenly turned around. Her doing this was because she didn't want to implicate Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. This put a bitter smile on the old man's face. My miss, you're still thinking about the safety of others at a time like this. With resignation, he also turned around and ran in another direction with the girl. This made the 5 demonic cultivators chasing after them frown. One of the men with a hooked nose, at the 4th level of the Foundation Establishment realm, said in a low voice, "Boss 2, there are 2 little rats over there. Do you need me to clean them up?" The 7th level Foundation Establishment realm cultivator, called Boss 2, shook his head and said, "Let Wang Heng and Zhang Bai do it. Our primary goal is the young miss of the Moon Watcher sect." "Yes," the hook-nosed man agreed. Then he looked at the 2 perfected Qi refinement demonic cultivators behind him and instructed indifferently, "Go over there and clean up the 2 little rats. Remember to do it swiftly without leaving any traces." When the 2 perfected Qi refinement demonic cultivators heard this, they immediately agreed respectfully. Then they turned around and rushed towards Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were stunned. What is going on? Are they mistaken for those Qi refinement cultivators who come here to hunt level 1 demon beasts? On the girl's side, seeing the 2 demonic cultivators turn around and rush towards Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, she immediately felt guilty. If not for her, those 2 innocent cultivators would not have been involved in this. At the thought of this, the girl immediately shouted angrily at Boss 2 and the other 2 behind her. "Tu Kunbai, since I'm your target this time, why do you have to implicate the innocent?" Hearing the girl's words, the 7th level Foundation Establishment realm demonic cultivator called Tu Kunbai immediately sneered. He couldn't be bothered to answer such a childish question. On the other hand, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked at the girl in surprise. With their experience, it was naturally not difficult for them to tell that the girl wasn't pretending, but sincerely hoping that they wouldn't be implicated. Moreover, from what Tu Kunbai said, this young girl seemed to be the young miss of the Moon Watcher sect, and she should be the only daughter of the Moon Watcher sect master. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked at each other. Both of them clearly thought of the same question. If they saved the daughter of the Moon Watcher sect master, would they be allowed to enter the core area of Moon City in the future? At the very least, it would be more beneficial than harmful. It wouldn't hurt to make a new friend. Not to mention that, as cultivators of the righteous path, they would never let demonic cultivators off when they saw one. At this moment, the 2 perfected Qi refinement demonic cultivators had already arrived in front of Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. A sinister smile appeared on their faces. The demonic cultivator called Wang Heng said, "I want their living souls. It just so happens that I lack 2 living souls in my soul-chasing flag." Zhang Bai shrugged and said, "Sure, but I want 70% of the things in their storage bags later." Wang Heng hesitated for a moment before nodding. "Deal." Unconsciously, the 2 of them had already treated Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan as fish on the chopping board. Little did they know that when their words were heard by the couple, they immediately felt like laughing. They did not waste time on these 2 Qi refinement demonic cultivators. Jiang Chengxuan took out his purple flame sword. There were 2 booms. The purple flame sword with scorching purple flames immediately pierced through their chests. The terrifying purple flames instantly engulfed their bodies and burned them to ashes. Seeing this, the expressions of Tu Kunbai and the other 2, who were chasing after the girl and the old man, changed drastically. Not good, they are Foundation Establishment cultivators. The 3 of them immediately felt a great sense of danger. Without another word, they stopped and turned to look at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan with a solemn expression. "That was purely a misunderstanding, I hope you." "Correct." Before Tu Kunbai could finish speaking, Jiang Chengshuan's clear lake sword and Shen Ruyan's curse light sword turned into two sharp sword lights that slashed at the three of them. Damn it! Tu Kunbai and the other two were furious. Tu Kunbai suddenly released a flying sword made of skulls. With a terrifying and sinister howl, it faced Jiang Chengshuan's clear lake sword. As for the hook-nosed man and the other long-haired man, they took out a black bell and a flag with a ghost head. In an instant, a cold wind howled. A demonic sound that sounded like a death knell immediately reverberated in this mountain range. The girl and the old man who were looking back at this scene immediately felt dizzy. The old man immediately bit the tip of his tongue to release a defensive artifact and used it to shield them. Then, he said with a pale face, "Quick, hold your breath and focus. Don't listen to the sound of the death knell." At the same time, Jiang Chengshuan's clear lake sword had already collided fiercely with Tu Kunbai's skull flying sword. In an instant, blazing flames burst forth from the clear lake sword. There was a soft sizzle. Tu Kunbai's flying sword began to melt like a burning candle. No! Tu Kunbai was shocked. He raised his hand. A poisonous snake suddenly shot towards Jiang Chengshuan's face. It was a small black snake. Jiang Chengshuan did not even look at it. He controlled the clear lake sword and slashed diagonally. There was a ripping sound. The sword swept past the body of the black snake, cutting it into two and turning its body into a fireball. The overwhelming might of the clear lake sword was not weakened. Sword chi spewed out. There was a clang. Tu Kunbai's skull flying sword was actually cut into two by Jiang Chengshuan's clear lake sword. Then, under Tu Kunbai's terrified and reluctant gaze, it whooshed past his neck and cut off his head. This scene stunned the old man and the girl in the distance. The girl suddenly said tentatively, "Grandpa Wu, if I remember correctly, Tu Kunbai's cultivation seems to be at the late-stage foundation establishment realm, right?" When the old man called Grandpa Wu heard this, he nodded solemnly. "That's right, Tu Kunbai is indeed at the last stage, the 7th level of the foundation establishment realm. For that person to be able to kill him so easily, his cultivation should be far above Tu Kunbai." As soon as he finished speaking, on the other side of the battlefield, Shen Ruyan's curse light sword had already pierced through the black bell and nailed the hook-nosed man behind the Dharma artifact into the air. Seeing this, the last one, the long-haired man, wanted to escape. Unexpectedly, a lightning bolt suddenly fell from above his head. Not only did it instantly tear the ghost head flag he took out into pieces, but it also blasted him into ashes. From then on, these 5 demonic cultivators from the Phantom Cave all died. Seeing this, the girl and the old man in the distance could not help but be surprised. The 5 demonic cultivators who had almost cornered them were actually killed so easily by those two. "Grandpa Wu, let's go over and thank them." At this moment, the girl turned to the old man and suggested. The old man hesitated for a moment before nodding. Soon, the two of them arrived in front of Jiang Chengshuan and Shen Ruyan, who were putting away the storage bags of the 5 demonic cultivators. The old man hurriedly cupped his fists and bowed. "Thank you for what you did just now. I'm Wu Bairn from the Moon Watcher sect. How should I address you? If there's a chance in the future, Miss and I will visit you in person to thank you again." At this moment, he did not hide his and his young Miss's identities, because there was no need. After all, the conversation they had with Tu Kunbai already proved that they weren't on the same boat with demonic cultivators. At this moment, if he continued to hide his identity, he would only leave a bad impression on Jiang Chengshuan and Shen Ruyan. "That's right, you must come to the Moon Watcher sect. My father will definitely reward you." At this moment, the young girl chimed in. "Oh, right, my name is Huang Linger. My father is Huang Wenyu. You should have heard of him, right?" Jiang Chengshuan and Shen Ruyan looked at each other before he nodded at the two of them with a smile. "We've naturally heard of Sect Master Huang. So you're Sect Master Huang's daughter. It's really a pleasure to meet you." At this point, Jiang Chengshuan seemed to have thought of something and asked with a puzzled expression. "By the way, why did those guys from the Phantom Cave target you? Aren't they afraid of Sect Master Huang?" Hearing Jiang Chengshuan mention this, Huang Linger immediately said in a huff, "It's all because my father killed a few of Phantom Demon's disciples. That's why his disciples have been looking for trouble with the Moon Watcher sect. We had bad luck this time. We had just arrived at the Fallen Leaves mountain range when we bumped into those guys. If I hadn't met you guys, I really don't know what would have happened. At this point, Huang Linger could not help but heave a sigh of relief. It was obvious that what had happened had frightened the young lady of the Moon Watcher sect. After exchanging some pleasantries, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan bade farewell. Wu Bairn cupped his fists and bade farewell to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. After Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan disappeared from sight, Huang Linger looked at Wu Bairn in confusion. Grandpa Wu, why didn't we invite them to the Moon Watcher sect just now? That way it will be safer, isn't it? Hearing his Mrs. question, Wu Bairn immediately sighed, thinking to himself. Miss is too well protected by sect master. Her way of thinking is still naive. He then explained patiently. Miss, didn't you notice that they clearly have their own agenda for coming to the Fallen Leaves mountain range? If we ask them to return to the Moon Watcher sect with us, won't we be putting them on the spot? Yes. Huang Linger nodded in realization. Grandpa Wu, you're right. Besides, Wu Bairn continued, as the saying goes, the human heart is unpredictable. After all, we don't know each other. No one knows what their true character is. Even if they saved us, we still have to be careful. In this cultivation world, you can never be too careful. Is that so? This time, Huang Linger pondered for a long time. Seeing this, Wu Bairn did not explain further. Instead, he brought Huang Linger out of the Fallen Leaves mountain range. After a while, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had already counted the items in the storage bags of the 5 demonic cultivators. It had to be said that the gains from killing demonic cultivators were much less than ordinary cultivators. That was because they could not use many of the things that demonic cultivators used. So, although they had killed 3 Foundation Establishment Realm demonic cultivators and 2 perfected Qi Refinement Realm demonic cultivators, their final harvest was only about 10,000 spirit stones. Husband, what do you think of the young miss of the Moon Watcher sect? After putting away the things that were useful to them, she immediately looked at Jiang Chengxuan. Jiang Chengxuan thought for a moment and said, she struck me as someone who is ignorant of the world. In the future, if you and I really want to go to Moon City, this person should be able to help us. However, we still have to be careful. After all, we know nothing about the Moon Watcher sect. The daughter of the sect master might not be enough to guarantee our safety. As they spoke, the 2 of them did not waste any time and quickly began to investigate the other unexplored areas of the Fallen Leaves mountain range. Another month passed. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan found nothing. Therefore, the 2 of them decided not to linger in the Fallen Leaves mountain range anymore. Instead, they headed to Autumn Wind Ridge, which was about 1,000,000 kilometers away. There, the couple also didn't find anything. For more than 2 months, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan did not find any useful clues. However, it was at this moment that a system notification suddenly sounded in Jiang Chengxuan's mind. Ding! Achievement mission released. Host, please complete 1,000 explorations. Current mission progress, 93%. Jiang Chengxuan was really caught off guard by this notification from the system, especially the content and progress of the mission. He didn't know what to say. In the past half a year, he had almost explored the entire Fallen Leaves mountain range and Autumn Wind Ridge. But when he was about to give up, the system sounded. Was the system playing with him? Or had the system become too casual in issuing missions now? After complaining about the system in his heart, Jiang Chengxuan turned to look at Shen Ruyan. Ruyan, since there's nothing in the Fallen Leaves mountain range or the Autumn Wind Ridge, let's go to the Cloud Wave Lake to take a look. Yes, that's the only way. Shen Ruyan nodded. However, the Cloud Wave Lake is too huge. We might need to split up. Indeed. The Cloud Wave Lake was the largest lake under the jurisdiction of the North Cloud sect. It was not dangerous, but it was big beyond description. If Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan really wanted to explore that place, they would have to split up. Otherwise, the time they would have to spend there would probably be 10 times that of the Fallen Leaves mountain range and Autumn Wind Ridge combined. Jiang Chengxuan hoped that the mission reward this time could be of help to their exploration. As these thoughts flashed through Jiang Chengxuan's mind, he quickly disappeared from the sky of Autumn Wind Ridge with Shen Ruyan. A week later, above a lake that stretched out as far as the eye could see, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan floated in the air. However, their expressions were a little troubled. It was because there were many cultivators around Cloud Wave Lake. This included Lei Ping, who had invited them that day. They were clearly looking for something here. Through inquiries, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan learned that not long ago, a phenomenon of 5 colors soaring into the sky had appeared here. At that time, someone said that it was a sign that a rare treasure had landed in the Cloud Wave Laker. This news quickly spread like wildfire and was known by the surrounding people in no time. They were here to find the so-called treasure and seek opportunities. This also made Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan realize that the lightning pool they were looking for might be in this Cloud Wave Lake. "Husband, there's no time to lose. Let's split up." Shen Ruyan looked at Jiang Chengxuan and said solemnly. "Okay." Jiang Chengxuan also knew that the situation was urgent. Most importantly, the various Violet Palace realm immortal sects and families, especially the North Cloud sect, had yet to take actions. But that was the problem. Once what happened here really attracted the attention of the Violet Palace realm sects and families, they might completely seal off the Cloud Wave Lake and not allow anyone else to enter. This would be quite troublesome. Therefore, they had to hurry up. It would be best if they could finish the exploration of the Cloud Wave Lake before it was sealed off. Soon, the couple split up and began a search around the Cloud Wave Lake. Jiang Chengxuan also used this opportunity to quickly accumulate his mission progress. About half a month later, the mission progress under his retina had reached 100%. At the same time, a long-lost system notification sounded in his mind. "Ding! Congratulations, host. You have completed 1,000 explorations and obtained the Heavenly Eye of Insight." Heavenly Eye of Insight. You can see through arrays, barriers, restrictions, and other obstacles of your current cultivation level. You can also see through illusions and foresee sneak attacks. At the critical juncture, you can even see a trace of heavenly secrets about yourself. In short, the higher his cultivation level was, the more useful the Heavenly Eye of Insight would be. Compared to the Spirit Eye of Insight, it was clearly more than a level stronger. Especially the fact that it could allow Jiang Chengxuan to see a trace of the heavenly secrets about him. He just did not know what price he would have to pay for seeing the heavenly secret. Jiang Chengxuan was not a novice cultivator. He knew very well that once he touched on something that involved the heavenly secrets, it was impossible for him to not pay a price. It was best if the price was not too heavy. Thinking of this, Jiang Chengxuan decided to use his new ability to see the effect. Then he activated the Heavenly Eye of Insight. All kinds of spiritual lights immediately appeared in front of him. Most of them were emitted by the cultivators here. However, a portion of it was also emitted by the water veins. Suddenly, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes penetrated the layers of lake water and fixated on something in the center. There, wheels of light, emitting 5 different colors, were gently rippling out in all directions. That is... Jiang Chengxuan's pupils constricted. Her heart raced uncontrollably. He had an extremely strong intuition that it should be the place he and Shen Ruyan were looking for. With this in mind, Jiang Chengxuan didn't dare to delay any longer. He immediately sent a message to Shen Ruyan through the communication Jade talisman. At the same time, Jiang Chengxuan suddenly felt a slight dizziness in his head. He immediately realized that this should be the side effect for using the Heavenly Eye of Insight. What was consumed was his spirit. It seemed that if it was possible, he had to prepare spiritual items that could replenish his soul or spirit. Just as he was thinking this, a streak of light suddenly appeared not far from him. It was Shen Ruyan, who had rushed over immediately after receiving Jiang Chengxuan's message. At this moment, when she saw Jiang Chengxuan's slightly pale face, her beautiful eyes immediately widened and she hurriedly asked with concern, "Husband, what's going on? Why has your spirit been depleted so much? What happened?" 2. Jiang Chengxuan didn't hide it from her. He immediately told her about him using the Heavenly Eye of Insight. When Shen Ruyan heard that, a look of surprise appeared on her face. "Husband, are you saying that your Spirit Eye of Insight has already been upgraded, and you can see more things that you couldn't in the past?" Jiang Chengxuan nodded. "That's right. However, using this innate ability requires more than double the spirit I used in the past. I forgot about it just now, which resulted in this. However, it's not a big problem. After resting for a while, I should be fine. As for now, your matter is the priority." As he spoke, Jiang Chengxuan told her what he had just discovered. When Shen Ruyan heard that, a hint of excitement appeared on her beautiful face. She grabbed Jiang Chengxuan and said happily, "Husband, it should be the place. I'm almost certain that the place you discovered is the place we're looking for all this while." "Well, it seems like I was right." Jiang Chengxuan smiled and nodded. "In that case, let's not waste time." As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chengxuan pulled Shen Ruyan and jumped into a lake below without alerting the surrounding people. Splash! As soon as the two of them dived into the cloud wave lake, they each formed a light barrier around them, pushing away the water. Then their bodies quickly sank. 100 meters, 300 meters, 800 meters. When they were about 800 meters deep, a smile suddenly appeared on Shen Ruyan's face. She looked at Jiang Chengxuan and said, "Husband, I can feel it. I can feel that the lightning pool should be nearby." As she spoke, Shen Ruyan rushed in a certain direction. Jiang Chengxuan immediately followed. About 2 hours later, the couple stopped somewhere 900 meters deep. In this place, Shen Ruyan could clearly feel that a faint aura was echoing with her. Shen Ruyan did not hesitate. Extremely arcane lightning rune suddenly appeared in her palm. Buzz! At this moment, a 5-colored light screen suddenly lit up in the dark lake bottom. Immediately after, a door appeared out of thin air. Shen Ruyan turned to look at Jiang Chengxuan and smiled. "Husband, this is it, follow me." Jiang Chengxuan smiled and nodded. Soon, the couple stepped into the 5-colored door. Splash! The moment they stepped into the 5-colored door, the entire door instantly turned into countless light spots and dissipated. A while later, some cultivators rushed over from all directions. They kept searching here, their faces filled with anticipation and nervousness. "It should be nearby. I clearly saw it in this area just now. Why is it gone?" Some people looked anxious. There were also some people who looked puzzled. "Did we make a mistake?" "That's not right. If I'm the only one who saw it, I might be wrong, but there are so many of us who saw it. We can't all be wrong, right? There must be something strange." Just like that, more and more people gathered in this area. In the end, even some disciples of the Violet Palace Realm sects arrived. This made Foundation Establishment Realm independent cultivators like Lei Peng even more anxious. Therefore, they began to search the surroundings with all their might. Compared to them, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were much more at ease. After they entered the 5-colored door, they saw a vast world. The world was filled with extremely rich 5 elements and lightning elements. Jiang Chengxuan took a few breaths and felt the 5 elements' true essence in his body begin to surge. The 5 elements' true technique circulated involuntarily on its own. He had a feeling that if he could cultivate here, it would probably not take long for his cultivation to break through to the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment Realm. They continued forward for a distance. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan immediately saw a pool of lightning with metal, wood, water, and fire elements flowing quietly. There seemed to be a delicate balance between the lightning element and the 5 elements. Shen Ruyan suddenly thought of something and couldn't help but say to Jiang Chengxuan, "Husband, what we see in front of us is the lightning pool. Back then, I must have used a way to create a self-sufficient cycle for the large amount of the 5 elements and lightning element. Otherwise, after such a long time, it's impossible for this lightning pool to still be the same as before." Hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan was shocked. Being able to collect such a large amount of 5 elements and lightning elements, and figuring out a way to make these elements reproduce on their own, she could potentially have surpassed that of nascent soul realm cultivator in her previous life. 3. What is the background of my Tao companion in her previous life? Just as Jiang Chengxuan was thinking about this, Shen Ruyan interrupted his train of thought. "Husband, I'll have to trouble you to guard me from now on. I need to use this lightning pool to completely transform my spiritual roots. This process would probably take more than a year. During this period, I will be completely immersed into transforming my spiritual roots. I will also try to take the opportunity to break through to the Violet Palace realm. From now on, I will leave everything to you." As soon as she finished speaking, she handed a lightning seal to Jiang Chengxuan. "This seal is the hinge of the array formation here. If someone really finds our place, you can use it to keep them outside." Hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan immediately nodded solemnly. "Don't worry, with me around I won't let you be disturbed. You can just focus on doing your own thing." Shen Ruyan smiled and nodded at Jiang Chengxuan. Then, Without any hesitation, she turned around and jumped into the pool of water that was flickering with five-colored lightning. Rumble! In an instant, five-colored lightning soared into the sky, and Shen Ruyan's figure was completely submerged. Jiang Chengxuan sensed carefully and was relieved to find that Shen Ruyan was indeed fine. He sat beside the lightning pool. Only then did Jiang Chengxuan have the time to take out the body tempering technique that Shen Mengsu had given him. Previously, because he and Shen Ruyan had been busy searching for the lightning pool, he didn't have time to really study the content of the infinite wheel. He and Shen Ruyan also did not have the time to study the heavenly calculation technique seriously. Soon, Jiang Chengxuan read the contents of the infinite wheel. It had to be said that the conditions to cultivate this body tempering technique were indeed very strict. First of all, you had to have pure yin-yang 5-element spiritual root, or you had to have the legendary reincarnation Tao body, or even the two forms Tao body. After meeting this basic condition, your cultivation had to be below the violet palace realm. Moreover, this had to be the only body tempering technique you ever cultivated. Just this alone could probably eliminate 99% of the cultivators. Not to mention that cultivating the infinite wheel required a large number of resources and relatively good comprehension. It was no wonder that Shen Mengsu thought that this body tempering technique looked profound, but it was actually meaningless. That was because there were not many people who were qualified to cultivate it. If not for the fact that Jiang Chengxuan had received the yin-yang 5-element spiritual root from the system, and that he had not cultivated any body tempering technique before this, he would probably not have been able to cultivate it either. But at the same time, with such strict cultivation conditions, once he successfully cultivated the infinited wheel, the power it could bring out was earth-shattering. First of all, it could make Jiang Chengxuan impervious to all spells. It sounded like an exaggeration, but in fact it was not. As long as it was a spell attack of the 5 elements, the infinite wheel could dodge it. At the very least, it could greatly reduce the damage. In addition, it had a healing function. According to the level of your cultivation, it could heal the injuries on your body and bring you to your best state. Unfortunately, this body tempering technique was incomplete. If Jiang Chengxuan really wanted to perfect this technique in order to bring out all the aforementioned benefits, he had to find a way to obtain the missing part. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan had already begun to try to cultivate this body tempering technique. At this moment, a system notification suddenly sounded in his mind. Achievement mission released. Host, please complete 100 cultivations of body tempering technique. Current mission progress, 0%. Hearing the system's notification, Jiang Chengxuan felt hopeless. This was because he realized that the mission issued by the system was almost the same as asking him to complete the refinement of a level 3 Dharma treasure. It was not something he could complete in a short period of time. Of course, this was mainly because the body tempering technique he was currently cultivating was infinite wheel. If it were any other body tempering technique, he would probably be able to complete the mission very quickly. However, no matter what, with a mission like this, Jiang Chengxuan was more looking forward to cultivating this body tempering technique. In the following time, Jiang Chengxuan tried to cultivate infinite wheel while guarding Shen Ruyan. Time quietly passed during this process. In the blink of an eye, 10 months had passed. During this process, Jiang Chengxuan successfully entered the initial stage of infinite wheel. He also used the 5-element spiritual items he had to help him with the cultivation, and that pushed the mission progress to 15%. However, this was already his limit for the time being. After that, if he wanted to continue cultivating it, he needed to find better spiritual items or external items. Otherwise, just by cultivating it himself, without any external aid, would probably take him ages. It seemed that after leaving this place, it was time for him to buy a batch of treasures for body tempering. Just as this thought flashed through his mind, he suddenly felt the 5 elements and lightning elements in this space suddenly becoming active. His gaze immediately turned to the lightning pool in front of him. Is Ruyan about to succeed? As he thought, Jiang Chengxuan suddenly saw a 5-colored vortex appear in the lightning pool. The 5 elements and lightning elements in the world also began to gather crazily and converge in the vortex. Vaguely, a mysterious aura began to appear in the lightning pool. Jiang Chengxuan's expression instantly became extremely solemn. He knew that his Tao companion had reached the most critical moment. As long as she succeeded this time, she could forge that supreme Tao foundation and take another step forward. However, if she failed, Yang Chengxuan did not dare to imagine the consequences. At this moment, he could not do anything to help her. The only thing he could do was to wait for her. This wait lasted for another 3 months. At this moment, the 5 elements and lightning elements in the lightning pool had already become much thinner. However, the aura on Shen Ruyan, who was in the lightning pool, was getting stronger and stronger. Jiang Chengxuan could vaguely see 5 different colors of lightning alternating on her body. They seemed to be modifying her meridians, bones, internal organs, and even her soul. Suddenly, Shen Ruyan, who had her eyes closed, opened them. 5 different colors of lightning flashed in her eyes. Out of the void, 5 colored petals fell. A look of joy appeared on Jiang Chengxuan's face. At this moment, he could clearly feel that the aura around Shen Ruyan was gradually rising. She had already touched the threshold of the Violet Palace realm. Next, she only needed to gently push forward, and she should be able to enter the door of the Violet Palace realm. This also meant that Shen Ruyan should have succeeded in transforming her spiritual roots this time. Otherwise, she would not have chosen to break through at this moment. Clang! Suddenly, a thunderous sword light flashed through the sky. Soon, the sword light shot into the lightning pool. Is Ruyan going to? Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes narrowed slightly, and he instantly understood his Tao companion's intentions. She actually wanted to use the opportunity of breaking through and the remaining power of the lightning pool to reforge her Dharma treasure. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Almost immediately, the lightning pool that had calmed down a little began to surge again. Streaks of green, red, yellow, blue, or white sword light appeared in the sky above the pool. Vaguely, there was also the sound of thunder and wind. This was a sign that a Dharma treasure with a peerless quality was about to come into being. Yang Chengxuan really did not expect his Tao companion to be so ambitious. Not only did she want to reconstruct her spiritual roots and break through, but she also wanted to reconstruct and refine her Dharma treasure. Rumble. Finally, at this moment, after several days had passed, the entire lightning pool suddenly turned into an ocean of lightning. Various colors kept changing back and forth. The terrifying aura made Jiang Chengxuan's hair stand on end. He had an extremely strong intuition that if the energy inside exploded at this moment, he might not be able to withstand it at all. Fortunately, that didn't happen. Shen Ruyan, who was submerged in the lightning pool, suddenly walked out. Then she reached into the lightning pool, as if she was trying to grab something. There was a buzz. In the lightning pool, all the lightning and thunder began to gather towards her hand and the flying sword in her hand. In an instant, a terrifying aura appeared on Shen Ruyan and the sword. At this moment, Shen Ruyan had already succeeded in breaking through to the Violet Palace realm. Jiang Chengxuan couldn't help but reveal a look of joy. Ruyan finally made it. Just as this thought flashed across his mind, the strange phenomena on Shen Ruyan's body suddenly disappeared. She floated in front of Jiang Chengxuan and smiled at him. "Husband, thank you." Jiang Chengxuan hurriedly shook his head with a smile and asked with concern, "How is it? Did you succeed?" "Yes." Shen Ruyan nodded with a smile. "It's all thanks to this lightning pool. Now, I've transformed my spiritual root into the 5 lightning Tao body." 5 lightning Tao body. "Yes." Shen Ruyan nodded with a smile. "This is a lightning body with 5 elements. It can be considered one of the bodies that truly has the potential to become an immortal. In addition," at this point, she flicked the level 3 Dharma treasure flying sword in her hand. Buzz. This level 3 Dharma treasure flying sword let out a cheerful sword cry. Shen Ruyan continued, "While I was breaking through to the Violet Palace realm just now, I also modified my level 3 Dharma treasure. Now, it's no longer the Thunderbolt Lightning Fire Sword, but the 5 Lightning Immortal Slayer." 5 Lightning Immortal Slayer. Just from the name, one could tell that this sword was extraordinary. "Then congratulations, wife." Jiang Chengxuan congratulated sincerely. Shen Ruyan smiled and nodded. Then she seemed to have thought of something and said to Jiang Chengxuan, "By the way, husband, while there's still some of the 5 elements and lightning elements left, why don't you use it to temper your body? I'll help you regather them." With that, Shen Ruyan suddenly raised her hand and grabbed the air. There was a buzz. In an instant, all the remaining 5 elements and lightning elements in this space were pulled towards Shen Ruyan by a force. Then, with a flick of her hand, there was a bang. The remaining 5 elements and lightning elements, as if having received a command, flowed into the lightning pool. Thunder roared. The 5-colored light shot into the sky again. Shen Ruyan said to Jiang Chengxuan, "Husband, hurry. Before the 5 elements and lightning elements dissipate, hurry up and temper your body. You might be able to take this opportunity to improve it." Jiang Chengxuan did not refuse. He knew that with Shen Ruyan's current cultivation, it would take a lot of energy to prevent the 5 elements and lightning elements in the lightning pool from dissipating. Therefore, he did not hesitate and instantly jumped into the lightning pool. Rumble! In an instant, a huge 5-elemental spiritual power and lightning spiritual power began to surge around him. He did not dare to be negligent and hurriedly began to circulate infinite wheel. In an instant, 5-colored light began to flash rapidly on the surface of his body. There was also a tsunami of lightning that began to impact on his limbs and bones. Jiang Chengxuan gritted his teeth and tried his best to withstand the impact of all this. Half a month, 1 month, 2 months. For 2 months, Jiang Chengxuan used the remaining 5 elements and lightning elements to temper his body in the lightning pool. As the thunder around him roared, the 5-colored light on his body grew stronger. In the end, the phantom of a 5-colored aureole appeared above his head. However, at this moment, Jiang Chengxuan suddenly felt that the 5 elements and lightning elements surging around him were slowly thinning. He knew that the elements here were about to be exhausted by him. Indeed, not long after he realized this, the elements and light in the pool rapidly declined and disappeared. In a moment, Jiang Chengxuan could no longer sense the existence of any elements. He immediately felt a little regretful. If the energy in the lightning pool could sustain him for another month or 2, he might be able to complete the system's mission in one go. However, even so, he still pushed the mission progress to 70%. The strength of his body was comparable to an ordinary level 2 Dharma artifact. At the same time, his resistance to 5 elemental spells had reached an unprecedented level. According to Jiang Chengxuan's own estimation, he should already be immune to low-grade level 2 5 elemental spells. He was also immune to 50% to 80% of mid-grade level 2 or even high-grade level 2 5 elemental spells. In addition, his cultivation level had also broken through to the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm in the past 2 months. The total amount of true essence in his body had increased by more than 4%. Next, as long as he stabilized the 9th level, he could attempt to break through to the Violet Palace realm. However, before that, he had to complete the body tempering mission given to him by the system and refine his own level 3 Dharma treasure embryo first. That way, after he broke through to the Violet Palace realm, his foundation would be stronger. Just like Shen Ruyan. Although she had just broken through to the Violet Palace realm, her true combat strength was not inferior to those cultivators at the 2nd or 3rd level of the Violet Palace realm. Rumble! At this moment, the space where Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were suddenly shook violently. Shen Ruyan's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly before she said to Jiang Chengxuan, "Husband, all the 5 elements and lightning elements here have disappeared. The foundation that supports this space is no longer there. I'm afraid it's about to collapse. We have to leave this place immediately." As she spoke, a 5-colored lightning seal suddenly appeared between her eyebrows. Buzz! At the same time, a door suddenly appeared out of thin air somewhere in this space. It was different from the door through which they entered this space. It was the exit. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan did not hesitate. They immediately left through the door. Rumble! Not long after the couple left, this space began to shatter. Black spatial cracks began to spread. The entire space seemed to have entered the apocalypse. In no time, the terrifying spatial crack filled the entire space. With a final crack, the entire space instantly collapsed and disappeared. At the same time, several cultivators happened to arrive near the collapsed space. They looked at the huge black hole that appeared out of thin air in front of them. Everyone's faces were filled with shock and disbelief. What exactly is that?" A blue-robed man could not help but ask. The other 3 people who came with him shook their heads in unison. "I'm not sure. I've never seen such a scene before." Suddenly, a young man in white pointed ahead and said in surprise, "Look, there seems to be someone there." Hearing his words, the blue-robed man and the other two turned around. Much to their surprises, not far in front of them, two figures appeared. A man and a woman. The four of them looked at each other and immediately had a thought. Did those two people just come out of that terrifying black hole? At the thought of this, the four of them could not help but reveal a look of admiration. If their guess was correct, then how terrifying were the two people in front of them? Aye. Hahaza. I've found it. Aye. However, just as these thoughts flashed through their minds, a burst of surprised laughter suddenly came from behind them. Subsequently, 5 figures appeared. At the sight of these 5 figures, the expressions of the blue-robed man and the other 3 immediately changed. The white-robed young man said, "Not good. It's Yao Ping'an from the Kun Mountain sect. Damn it, why did they also come to the Cloud Wave Lake?"